This is the XNC Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Mag, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, XNC Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox Newscast. Welcome to the XNC Podcast. This is Colteastwood. Welcome to the show. This is episode 162. Can't believe we're still on the air, but I'm here with my good friend Mag, who decided to take off and go touch grass, water, and for the last week. How you been, Mag?
I have been outstanding. Yes, it was nice to get away. You had a good time when you have absolutely no desire to come back. And I don't mean the show. I mean just to life in general. I'm just like, no, I'm good. I do not want to return. I'm totally good there. And now I'm starting to second guess my career, saying maybe I should just leave it all behind and go live in the woods. But anyways, I'm here. We're here to talk about stuff. We have Fraud Al Thor here. I'm super excited to have him here. Let's get into the show, man. We got some things to talk about. There's actually been some interesting news in the last half of the summer. So let's get into it, buddy.
Would you like to give Mag, would you like to give Rand a very dramatic intro, or would you want me to do that?
In a world of Xbox content creators, only one man has stood above the rest. And by stood above, I mean just mediocre at best. His name is Rand Al Thor, a name stolen from also some kind of a sci-fi book or something like that. They made 2 seasons of it on Prime Video, and it was just okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Rand Al Thor. Rand Al Thor is here, ladies.
That's a great intro. I mean, we're essentially like Lord Cognito level at that point, right?
That was
with the intros.
Oh, no, I was going with the 90s. I was going with the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Trailer guy. That guy who did every trailer on Earth.
In a world.
Yeah.
In a world of Xbox fans, one co-host of the XNC is a sheep in wolf clothing. For he is a PlayStation fan.
That's Rand Al Thor. Rand, it's good to have you here.
I mean, Mag was right. 1, mediocre, 100%.
Yeah.
2, Rand Al Thor is not taken from the Wheel of Time TV show. You dolt.
I know.
He said book. He said book.
It's a fantasy book, not a science fiction book.
I was making up stuff on the spot. Come on.
Yeah, that's
true.
True.
I know the book series. I know the show series. But
we don't talk about the show. Okay, we don't talk about the show.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't that great. I tried to get into the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, this is not working for me. So I left. So I never went back to it. I heard season 2 was even worse, but that's a whole other story.
Opposite. Season 2 is much better.
Get out of here.
Even
really?
Still, it's like season 1's like a 4 out of 10. Season 2 is like a 6 out of 10. It's much better. It's like significantly better, but it has a long way to go to get actually like really, really, really good, right?
Outstanding.
So, yes, but I am here. Colteastwood sent up the Rand Al Thor flame, the Rand Al Thor
flare
out into the ether. It doesn't talk to me all weekend. Right, I call him after the podcast on Friday. After me and Jez finished. I'm like, let me talk to Colteastwood, and Colteastwood doesn't answer, and he doesn't call me back all weekend. And then Sunday night, he's like, "Hey, you wanna guest on XNC with me, man?"
Yeah,
I'm like, cool. Didn't even call me, just texted me. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Remember when I was like, "Where'd you get that code?
Did you ever tell Mag that story? Where'd you get that code?"
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
Where'd you get that code?
I'm like, "Come on my show." Now.
He's like, yeah, I'm sorry I ignored you for like a week. You won't come on? Like, yeah.
Actually,
sure,
it does. When we go a couple days without talking, it does feel like a week. But this weekend would have been a good time to talk to you if you would have called me back. But Rand has a thing, audience, that if I don't call him back, he pouts and he gets angry. I do the same thing to him. It's how our relationship thrives. We're just very petty.
It's supposed to call people back, That's kind of the thing, isn't it?
Hey, well, you know what? Both of us are here with Mag, and we're all, we're in our golden years, and the kids, they don't call. They just like send a snapfish message or one of those things. Like, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just trying to, I sent you something on Snapchat and you didn't reply.
Yeah, I mean, Matt goes on vacation and unplugs everything in his house, and when his kids come home, they're like, "Why does nothing work?"
Yeah, no kidding,
That's
right?
just the way it is.
Sir, is your PC plugged in, sir? Yeah.
Yeah, Mag was like, I would have been on earlier to get the show started, but he realized that he unplugs everything in his house, turns off all the toilets. He goes out and takes the main, shuts everything off so that nothing can happen while he's gone. I'm like, Mag, your house can flood while you're home, and maybe you can fix that. But if a power surges and blows up your PC, you can't stop it unless you're Flash. But yeah,
I know. But you should see me turning off the water valve, just like you're saying. It's kind of like in BioShock. I'm basically like, closing off those big vents to keep like all that big thing from coming out. Yeah, that's how it goes, folks. Listen, I'm very cautious and I'm super paranoid. Okay, so sue me. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Why'd you text me? Rand's great. Rand texted me.
Why did I text you?
Yeah, I think you did.
You guys are like two 11-year-old girls. You know that? Can we get on with this show, please?
No.
You accidentally replied to me.
Whatever we want to talk about.
Okay. Yeah,
let's. You guys like texting little pictures of like this, like little.
Oh, Colt loves making pictures and texting them to people and putting them in DMs.
I do. I like putting all kinds of people's faces in all kinds of interesting positions and places. Yeah, I'm famous for it, and I'm really good at it. And infamous for it, too. Before we get into that, this is episode 162. We are on Spotify and Apple iTunes and other podcast platforms. But I wanted to give a second here as we kind of get warmed up to shout out the channel members of Patreon veterans. These are people who've been with the channel for over 9 months, and some of them for like almost 4 years, plus years with the XNC Podcast. I'm going to read off this name. They're also ticking across the top. And where is that list? Let me grab it. Yeah, it's right here. I want to give a shout out to KY Bob, Assassin Loop, Jazzy Noob, Jason Lewan, Lord Senator, Real Riggs, Farscape, Game Seeker, Rick, Trickster for Trey, Pushing Polygons, Hargeet Chani, Dextron, Nelson, Bernal Vigil, Zimic, Kings 5050, channel members, Matt Burns, KY Bob, Yodani Kizada, Suicide King, Assassin Loop, Robert Jackson, Dante Moody, Septic Sauce, or Gaz, Zenner White, V Simcoe, Assassin Entertainment, Hargeet Chani, Raiden Blade, True 77, Risk It for the Biscuit, Micah Ford, Troll Roberts, Pen Pineapple Pen, Meat Puppet, Red Wolf, my good friend, a lot of my good friends in here, Jedi J. Golan Rippin, Techo Caveman, Jason the One, Fire 71, That Blue Number, Kung Fu Hot Dog, Shooter 2853, TextMade, VC Mac, VMac, B Martin, 001, Sith Lord, good old Collingwood, almost done, Rand, Mag, hold on, KJ Wars 85, Dead Time, Darkwave Mortem, Kings, Justin Duell, Biff Rinaldi, Happy Bomb, Molten Pandora, a name that I know Mag is going to love, Pat F, Professor Chaos, Bionic Wolf, Grandpa's Barbecue Game Cat, Phantom Beat, Jimmy Cook, and Powerman 4K. Thank you so much for being channel member supporters. Let's get into the show. Today, I've got Randall Thor 19, one of the hot Xbox content creators in the space, probably one of the biggest podcasts. Him and Jez run this podcast. They have multiple layers to it, but I'm glad to have him here. He's also a good friend, and he hates Mag. So it's a win-win for everyone.
It's a win-win for everybody. Stunned Maritimer in the chat already said, Mag, kick Colt and Rand out and bring on some good old Canadian boys. I'm 2 seconds from doing it. But anyways, yes, let's get on with the show. Rand is a wonderful person. I love him.
Mag is pretty cool.
You know what?
Mag's okay.
Let me tell you something about my IRL in real life. If I don't like you, I don't speak to you. If I make fun of you and take jabs and have some fun with it, that means I love it. I love you. That's a fact. So when I do that, that's a term of endearment. That's not me being except for Gaz. Gaz, everything I say negative about Gaz, 100% I mean it. I mean it, Gaz. Him and Risk It for the Biscuit, both of them, scumbags. Anyways, let's get into the show.
Did you see Risk It's sister do that breakdance thing at the Olympics?
Was that Risk It's sister?
It was, yeah. I mean,
damn.
Yeah.
Famous blood.
Oh man, well I'm assuming Risk It has the same level of skill as that breakdancer did. So yeah, I'm picturing him after like 19 Fosters and then getting onto the dance floor at some local pub and doing a dance like that. Yeah,
Australians don't drink Foster's beer. Somebody asked me, Rand, to put Phil's face on that breakdancer for that video.
Oh my god,
that would have been good. That would have been pretty good.
You want to see something fair dinkum? Watch this. And then it gets up there.
Feels like doing the breakdance thing while he takes Tango and just sells him down the river. But we'll talk about that today. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm glad to have Rand here and have Mag back. And thank you everybody for showing up in the chat. We appreciate you. Today we're going to talk about some of the things there across the bottom on the ticker that kind of gives you an idea of what things we're going to talk about. First, I wanted to kind of start off and warm up about what you've been playing. I've just been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, where you started over, doing the whole thing, totally hooked on it. That's what I've been doing. But what have you guys been playing?
Yeah, Mag, what have you been playing?
What
platinum trophies are you chasing right now?
I'm
Pony.
actually working on. Of course, I'm a pony. I'm working on the first Ascendant. I can't stop playing it. Like now, I got neck deep into it. I understand the mechanics of the game. I figured it out. Hot take: it's better than Destiny. So it's
that's not a hard thing to be.
I know, it's just my personal opinion, but yeah, I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I'm playing a lot of it. On the side, just for
tell
fun.
Rand what you bought.
What?
Tell Rand what you bought for it.
Oh my god! Like the outfits
did you buy? Did you buy the outfits?
Of course, well, I bought one. I mean, it was
I bought one.
It was so hot, man. I mean, come on.
One.
I mean, at least the Koreans are not afraid like North America, a bunch of pussy. They're like, oh, let's put them in. Like, let's make Mortal Kombat and put them in parkas because like,
you don't want to show too much elbow in Mortal Kombat.
You don't want to show any ankle or elbow for Christ's sake. Yeah. So then you got like Kitana with like a scarf on and like a winter parka, and she's like fighting.
Hey, she looks good in that parka, and scarf.
It's ridiculous. Give it to the South Koreans, man. Between Stellar Blade and First Ascendant, these guys know what's up. All right, they're putting. I mean, it's totally ridiculous and unrealistic. You got like a girl in a string bikini firing an M4 carbine machine gun. Mind you, if you've been to the South, there's actually a lot of those. There's a lot of those YouTube videos where you can see all those the girls in the bikinis shooting guns and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Koreans got it down to a science, man. Anyways, the outfits. I did not buy any bikini outfits. I got these really cool ass outfits. There's one girl, Freyna. She's like one that has like a poison thing. Like it's one of her power ups and stuff. Excellent. And then the other one, I can't remember her name. She got ice powers. Love the game. Having a great time with it. On the side, just for fun, I'm playing a little Lego Harry Potter because I got 2,000 out of 2,000 on Xbox. I'm sure Rand did as well. And I'm getting the platinums on it because it's one of my favorite games of all time. The 2 installments. And it
was like movie. It's like the first one's like what movies 1 through 4, and then the second one's like 5 through 7. Yeah,
that's correct. Yes, and I got 2,000 out of 2,000 on Xbox, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and get the platinums on those. So I'm doing that too. So I go back and forth with.
Are you playing those by yourself, or are you teaming up with a family?
No, just by myself. And then as well as I'm actually going to be starting properly, even though I put 5 hours into it when it first came out, and then I dropped it. I'm picking Avatar back up again. Because it's in the backlog, want to clean it out, so that's what I'm doing. Anyways, Rand, what do you have?
The Last Airbender?
No. That was the 35-second 1,000 achievement point game. No, not that one. I know you know, Rand, because I know too.
Oh, we all know.
No. The other one.
Just regular old schmegular Avatar.
James Cameron
Avatar.
Is what we call it.
It was the Avatar, whatever of Pandora, the Ubisoft one.
Yeah, but. So it's the one from the 360 generation.
No, the Ubisoft one that just came out last year.
It's the newer one.
The one I played, the one I was playing when you and I first.
I'm just saying because there was a Ubisoft Avatar game back there in the 360 gen.
Yes,
that was them too. That was also Ubisoft.
That one was better than this new one, Mag.
Well, I mean, I played 5 hours of the new one. It's good. I just need to dig my nails in. You know what I'm saying? Like really understand what I'm doing here. But what the hell is the name of the game, guys?
Frontiers of Pandora.
Yeah.
I finished it. It was cool. The first half was really good, and then it really wore on me like a lot.
If you're not ready for the Ubisoft grind, or if you're not into it, I could
different
see that
from that.
for like most. Really?
Yeah,
is it? All right.
It's more Ubisoft grind than you're used to, in its own way. It's still a cool game though. I told people if you find it for 20 or 30, buy it. Yeah.
Gotta love the grind. That's
I mean,
all Ubisoft does.
It was 50% off. Like, what am I supposed to do? Not buy it? Like, you know what I mean? That's my mating call. As soon as I see 50% off, I'm like, oh, here we go. That's the mating call, and off I go.
Yeah, Mag, and the blue light special. You'll get your money. You'll get that of it.
If you would have waited a little bit longer, it would have hit that special 75% off.
Jeez, no kidding, right?
Or everyone's favorite. Is it on Game Pass? Is it on Game Pass? Is it on Game Pass?
Funny you say that. I'm actually kind of wondering about that. It's not going to be a conversation tonight, but it is something I've been thinking about. I looked on the PlayStation Store, and most of the Call of Duties are 60. I don't know. It's a strange number. 67% off right now. And I'm wondering if that's some kind of like a calling sign, knowing that they know that maybe that the Call of Duties are going to drop on Game Pass at some point soon. So maybe they're trying to squeeze whatever they can get out of them for now. So I don't know, just a little side thought. It's just an interesting little thing. I'm like, I thought it funny at this time of year, of all things, they put like a whole slew of Call of Duties on sale for 67% off.
Yeah, they just did that on Xbox because they just had their summer sale.
Yeah,
right.
And
right.
like all the Call of Duties were on sale.
It's
for whatever amount off.
I own every Call of Duty on Xbox, so like it was never really a thing for me. I was just like, even when they put them on Game Pass, I'm not going to go back to them. I got the completions on all of them on Xbox, so I'm just gonna play the new ones. That's my jam. But anyways, that's what I'm playing. Not Colt. Rand, what are you up to, dude?
So the past month I've been playing Cyberpunk, and I'm approaching like 85 hours in it now. I think
took me 4 years to get him to play it. How good is it, Rand?
Hasn't even been out for 4 years yet.
75 hours means he's obviously enjoying
4.75.
85 hours right now.
Oh, 85 hours.
Yeah, because I got to the point after 72 hours, I got to the point in the main campaign where it's kind of like, this is the point of no return. And I'm like, oh, well, I still got Phantom Liberty to play, which is the expansion that came out last year. So I'm like, all right, well, I talked to Colt, I talked to Jazz, a couple other people, because my plan originally was going to beat the game, and then I was like, all right, well, now I'll do Phantom Liberty, because I figured that's how most people played it, because, it came out a few years after the main game. Like, no, play it during it before you beat the game. I'm like, all right, so I made a save, and I was like, oh, let me go through Phantom Liberty, and I think I only got a couple missions left. I'm almost at the point where I think you got to make a choice in Phantom Liberty. I was talking to Colt earlier, because they're kind of setting up like, oh, you need to side with this person, or you need to side with this person. And so I should be hopefully finishing it this week. But I adore the game, Mag. Absolutely adore the game.
I can't believe you're not playing it with path tracing at 4K on 120 frames on your PC.
Yeah, I guess
it looks great on the Series X, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good, and it runs well. Most of the time runs at 60. I could tell sometimes in the bigger cities with a lot of people, you can get some drops, but it's not that big of a deal. I love pretty much everything about the game. I've talked about this like every week on the podcast. People, I'm like, hold on, don't leave. We're talking about Cyberpunk again. Because I only play. I don't know if you're like this, Mag. Maybe you're not. I know Colt's not like this at all. He's like the exact opposite, and maybe that's why we connect so well. Because Colt's like literally like, let me play this game for 10 minutes. Let me play this game for 30 minutes. Let me play this game for an hour. Let me play this game for 2 hours.
Quick resume,
Randall 4, I play one game at a time, and I play one game until I'm done. Yeah. So I haven't played anything else in basically a month, because it's like Cyberpunk's going to be played until it's finished, and then I'll play something else. But in the meantime, Colteastwood's played 30 games.
Lately,
for 30 minutes.
When I was playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and now that I'm on Red Dead, like that's all I do is nothing but Red Dead. It's been crazy. And just before that, I was like, they spent like 3 weeks doing nothing but Syndicate. That's the other problem is I'll play something on PC and you're cut off from the rest of the world. You're in lonely world when you're on PC, because the Xbox party chat system there is.
That's why you can join Discord and chat.
Yeah,
Discord it up. But are you like that, Mag? Are you like a combination of me and Colt, or because
I'm generally a one game guy, and so what? But see, like a game like First Ascended, I don't count because that's a multiplayer sort of live service. Call of Duty, I don't count as well, unless I'm doing the campaign and whatever else. But like zombies and multiplayer, I don't really count that as part of it. And when I play a game, I put everything into that game. I want the story, I want the immersion of it. You know what I mean? Like I just get all into it, and I won't touch anything else until I'm done, because. 2 reasons. A, like I said, I like the immersion. I prefer the immersion of having just the one game, being involved in it. It's like trying to watch like 3 different TV shows at once, and you're watching one episode a day. It's all going to start bleeding together, and you don't really get that full experience, in my opinion. So I stick to the one. I get that completion, and I go keep grinding.
And the collectibles and the challenges.
Oh, I do all that. I do
all that.
Everything. I do everything. Yeah, I do everything. So I don't walk away from a game until The only one I walked away from actually this last little while, because Colt, I've been playing Dying Light 2 for the last month, and I just crossed, I think, about 100+ hours, and I had to put it down because I finished the game, but there was nothing else I could do because the game design was actually against me, so to speak. So what ended up happening is it locked you out of certain like side quests and collectibles and things like that. It would lock you out of that the further you got in the story. But they didn't tell you which ones were locked out and which ones weren't. And I'm like, what are you doing to me?
Do you guys do this in games when there's like a quest right over there? I walk by it like,
yeah, well,
like because because Rand knows this more than anyone, because Rand is an achievement trophy hunter. Like, he tries to get all this completion, and you do this too as Mag, but you'll walk over toward a mission and it triggers a cutscene and you're locked in. And then sometimes it pushes you out of that location.
I hate that. Else, you know what? There's 2 doors, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go check for a collectible down this door, and then you pick the wrong door, and it triggers a cutscene, and you're like, no.
That's Max Payne 3.
That was why Dead Space was so amazing. When you played like Dead Space, and you would press the stick and it would show you the direction you need to go.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
Where it would show you the line. I'd be like, you always go in the opposite direction of the line.
Of course,
because like, this is the way to go. Like, I don't want to go that way. I want to go find some other stuff. Let me go over here.
You make sure you sweep you got to sweep the entire level and make sure you got everything and check all the collectibles and all the audio logs and everything else. But then these other games, and you're like, you know what? I think this is the door. And then you pick the door and it's the wrong door, and all of a sudden you see the cutscene happen. You're like, oh no. And then you just it's the worst. It's the worst feeling. I mean, for completionists, it's the worst thing. But anyways.
But man, Cyberpunk, love it. I kind of talked a little bit about it on the podcast on Friday. I don't know how it's going to all end up, because I'm at the end of Phantom Liberty and I haven't experienced the actual end of the main game, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty good. I don't know, but honestly, if I had to sit here and tell you guys like where I would rate Cyberpunk, for me, I think my favorite game this generation is Elden Ring, right?
Yeah.
So far. I mean, we still got a few years left of the generation, so it would be Elden Ring. Cyberpunk's right there. It'd probably be like Elden Ring 1A, Cyberpunk 1B. Like, that's how much I'm loving this game. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes I'll think about it when I'm not playing anything. Like, I'll be reading my book, and then I'll be thinking about, oh man, like what about this side quest? Or I think one of the times I called Colt and I'm like, dude, I did the serial killer side quest in Cyberpunk. That shit was, that shit was like icky, like.
Oh yeah.
There's or the Sinnerman side quest.
There's the ex-con that is like running his own cult.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the room in this lady's dining room, and my skin was crawling because the game's so immersive. And I told Rand, I'm like, I walked away from that quest because that stuff can be like really, really eerie.
Yeah.
It's what makes Far Cry 5
I know like a lot of people have an issue with it being first person. But I couldn't even imagine the game being third person. I think first person fits it so well. It's such a cinematic experience, especially with the dialogue and the story. And then like you have the gameplay elements, and you can play the game however you want. You want to be a badass ninja with a sword, go right ahead. You want to be like a hacker, elitist. The game allows you to do that. Different ways to get into each of the missions. If you dump points into body, you can open up doors. Like, it all has that kind of. Maybe it's a smaller immersive sim elements to it, but
you can make it your own. My friend Red Wolf, who's in the chat, he makes a pistol only carrying time slowing bullet time bounty hunter is what he does. And I'm like, can you really do that in the game? He's like, absolutely. He specs everything over there. He treats every combat situation in a very similar manner. He just like lives the world. And him and I were playing that game. I think it was the beginning of this year, and you just picked it up, and we were both playing it on our his third playthrough, my second. So when people say Cyberpunk is trash, I'll never play it because of what the mistakes that CD Projekt Red made. I just kind of laugh because I played it at launch and I thought it was really, really great, and it had stutters and crap like that. Yeah, right, Meg?
I played it on the Series X, and on day one, And I didn't. The only thing, remember I told you about this? The only thing I experienced was I saw a hooker walk through my car and went through the other side. That was it.
I mean, that happens in Canada, but yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of
I wouldn't say no issues, but I definitely didn't have issues where I was whining.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, but I think weren't the issues mostly on last gen PS4 and Xbox One? And you know what's funny? I went back and I watched like the gameplay reveal for the game that they did like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the original gameplay reveal of Cyberpunk on their YouTube channel on CD Projekt Red?
Was it the mission where you go to rescue Sandra Dorset?
Yeah, like the first one. Man, even though a lot of the area is exactly the same, the user interface is completely different, like completely different. Even the image colorization is different. Like it's definitely more stylized and it's more saturated. Like there's so much that was changed, but then so much of it that was the same. It's weird. It's really cool. You should go and check out like that gameplay reveal, because I was watching. I'm like, yeah, I know this, because like all the rooms are still the same. Even some of the lines from the voice actors are all the same. But it's like, the user interface is completely different, and all this other stuff is like really changed. And it's like,
remember the journalists were so blown away. It was like a life-changing reveal when they saw that first mission, and the yellow chairs went crazy. And then I played the game.
Yellow chairs, yes.
And I played the game, and I was among the people that were like, yeah, it has some issues, but I wouldn't write home about any of them, really. In every open world game, you have something weird like a hooker walking through the car or a pedestrian walking this far off the sidewalk. That stuff happens. You see that in Rockstar games or whatever, and you just kind of go, oh, that's funny. Let me record that and share it. But sometimes a game's so enjoyable. You hear that all the time in reviews, right? A game is so enjoyable that you can forgive these things, and they don't really detract from what score you'd end up giving the game. And I couldn't stop playing it.
Dude, if you like call in your bike, but when there's an overpass nearby, sometimes the bike will drop from the sky, or you'll just be cruising and you'll see like a car in a parking lot, like just like do a twist. It explodes a little bit, not like explodes in the sense that it blows up, but kind of just all of a sudden it just like moves like sporadically. And I was doing this mission where it was a stealth mission yesterday, and I was guiding Idris Elba's character along. I don't know if you remember this one, Colt, where you're on the giant sniper and you're guiding him along. And it gets to this part where you have to open up a door, and he's moving really slowly, but there's two guards sitting right there. And he's like, all right, I'm going. And he just walks through one of the guards and just keeps on nothing. It's just so funny. I was like, I don't really have many glitches when playing through the game. There's like a few here and there, but yeah, what an incredible game that it is. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, I really waited this long to play it, but I knew I would play it at some point. Cole kept on writing me, being like, you're not going to play this. I'm like, no, I will. I'll play it.
I always really wanted to play it a couple of months ago when I was still in it, because we could have been talking back and forth. And then once I was completely done with my second playthrough, you're like, I think I'm going to start Cyberpunk. I'm like, I'm over it. I'm done. Nope. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing. That is what I'm up to.
So we've got a ton to talk about today, and a lot of stuff that I'm glad I have you here, Rand, because I think you might be way more well-versed on some of these topics than I would be. One of them, I'll just kind of start with this one that's not even in order. But this morning, I got in a slight argument with my friend Gaz and Zocker. We were talking about this marketing situation with Call of Duty Black Ops, where somebody had clipped a segment of a podcast. I'll kind of trudge into this carefully. I'm not sure if you heard about this, Mag, but there was a podcast on the Iron Lords podcast. Paris was talking about what he thought or what he'd heard about the new information coming out for the new Call of Duty, and it wasn't plastered with Game Pass monikers. And so he said that he thinks I'm going to purposely be vague, and I'll let you kind of speak on this, Rand, because I think you might be better informed, because I saw a very brief clip, and people take stuff out of context all the time. But the gist of it was that Xbox is not putting Game Pass all over
any of the new Call of Duty marketing right now is saying, coming to Game Pass, this is coming to Game Pass, get this on Game Pass. He kind of alluded to that they can't right now, or they're not going to. Rand, what was going on with this when they were talking on Iron Lords yesterday? Did you follow this?
I have yet to watch Iron Lords, but I sort of know. I think I saw the tweet that you're talking about. But yeah, a lot of people thought that once Microsoft had control of Call of Duty and stuff, that one of the things you could do is market heavily not only the game, but also the fact that it's coming to Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the biggest opportunity for Xbox to market Game Pass to a wider audience that may know nothing about it. There's plenty of people in the casual space that have never heard of Game Pass, or if they had, I'm sure, you maybe ran into it, but I've talked to my brother about it, and he's just like, what's Game Pass? And my brother's like a gamer, but he's not like someone who games, every week or whatever. And I'm just like, what's Game Pass? And it's like, bro, you don't even... All right, wow. So it's like you got to give him the deal, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds so cool, right?" It's like, yeah, it is cool. Like just for a low price, you can play all these games. It's a really cool deal, but not a lot of people know about it, and that's it's a whole other discussion about Xbox marketing and stuff. But so the question became, okay, what is Microsoft going to do with Call of Duty this fall? And I said a long time ago that I don't know if we'll see Game Pass on the marketing that you would see on TV ads or on Twitter or in other places, because if you go on Xbox's page,
outside of Xbox YouTube is what you're saying.
Yeah, Xbox YouTube's got it. It's got Game Pass, got all that stuff. But if you go to the Activision page or the Call of Duty page, it doesn't mention any of that, right? And you don't know what ads they're going to run nationally or whatever. And the question then becomes, well, like, why wouldn't you do that? Right? That's a big plus for you. And I always go back to the FTC trial and some of those things that they were talking about last year at this time, when they basically told the judge that they couldn't bring Call of Duty to Game Pass until 2025. Which, well, it's not next. That's
Why?
Next year, and because we know that Sony's marketing deal with Call of Duty runs out like the end of this year, but they didn't have the marketing deal with the newest Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Modern Warfare 3 came out last year, and you figured that would be the last one they have marketing for, the year deal, what have you, because we've seen the Sony marketing deals. I remember we saw the thing for it with Resident Evil 8. I don't know if you remember, that was a Sony marketed game, and then the whole thing was, hey, if you decide you want to put it on a competitor's, or if you want to put it on a subscription service, then we have first dibs for a year. And then even after that, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, if you offer it to them, then you also have to offer it to us, type of stuff. So then what happened is that Modern Warfare 3 out of nowhere came to Game Pass this past month. In end of July, which was 9 months from release. And we know Call of Duty Black Ops is launching day one into Game Pass, but we also remember that Microsoft said they weren't be able to get any of those games into Game Pass until 2025. And you think about, okay, well, even the thing with Sony's own marketing for it, it sort of seems like they shouldn't be able to put Modern Warfare 3 in there regarding like contract stipulations and stuff like that. So I thought, maybe one of the things was, hey, in order to get this stuff done early, maybe they capitulated that they wouldn't market this upcoming Call of Duty with Game Pass ads, so they could get the franchise into Game Pass earlier than they legally were, obliged to, because I think Sony would hold the rights to whatever they could do with Modern Warfare 3 for a little bit. Now, that is just my speculation. I haven't heard this from anybody anywhere. I don't know.
That's just your educated perspective or educated guess.
Yeah, because it was just like they made sure to point out that, no, we can't do anything with it until 2025. And it's like suddenly they are doing stuff with it in 2024. So I was thinking, well, maybe some of the deals were amended, and maybe it's one of those, hey, you'll let us do this and we'll do this. Right? And at the grand scheme of things, one Call of Duty game not being marketed with Game Pass isn't the end of the world because you would have like the rest of them to do it. But like we won't know. We don't know the inside outs. We don't know the contract situation, all that sort of stuff. So when Paris kind of mentions that maybe he's heard something or Cognito or whatever, it's like, okay, yeah, at least to me that makes sense because that was kind of what I was already thinking along the lines of. That they made a deal to be able to get this stuff into Game Pass earlier than they previously thought they would, and it was like, okay, we'll do this, but we won't do that. I could be completely wrong though, because like I said, it's not like not like Phil Spencer's in my ear whispering, be like, Rand, what's going on?
Yeah, and Paris was pretty adamant today that wasn't something he heard from Treyarch or Activision. Paris was, he put out a clarification tweet that like, this isn't something you heard from official. These are things that people were just saying when he was in a mutual place. What do you think about this, Mag? About this whole Game Pass?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of two things. I think it's a combination of what Rand is talking about, and I think there's more behind the scenes where I think that, as they've always said, I think that Game Pass is, of course, an option. It'll continue to be an option, but I think with a game like Call of Duty, they're more than happy to have people purchase the game at full price. Because most of the Call of Duty players are going to purchase the game at full price. I know a lot of Xbox gamers who have messaged me, tons of them, DMing me saying, yeah, I'm not playing on Game Pass. I already pre-ordered it. I get the Vault Edition. I get it every year. It's one of the few games I play. And then the casuals, they're not going to subscribe to Game Pass for $20 a month in US and then more in $26 in Canada. They're not going to go through the whole rigmarole of doing that when they could literally just buy the one game. And they're going to buy the one game. They're going to play it for the whole damn year. They're going to get Madden, NCAA, football, whatever the hell they want to play for the other half of the year. And that's it. And then they move on to the next one. Microsoft knows this. Microsoft also knows that, yes, they want more people in Game Pass. But you know what? At the same time, for how long? For how long? When you get people that subscribe to Game Pass for Call of Duty, they might do it for 2 months and then they walk away. And it's like, well, they might as well just take the money for it. They own it all. So no matter which way you look at it, Microsoft's making their money. Right. I don't think there's any real reason for them, personally. I don't think there's any real reason for them to put the extra effort into moving people into Game Pass to do so. Because it's for them, it's a win-win, win-win-win financially. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what you do.
If they don't heavily market Game Pass, they're still going to. They
don't have to
sales on the game. Yeah,
exactly. They don't have to. If they sell it on PlayStation, they're making 70%. If they're selling it on Xbox, they're making 100%. Yeah. If they're getting people on Game Pass, well, however that business model works for them. I'm not familiar with how they do their Game Pass. I'm familiar how Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff, because I got my people over there. So I know how that business model works. But I would imagine it's somewhat similar. But the point is that they don't really have to. Like I said, it's a win-win-win-win-win across every board, no matter where you purchase it. Or you subscribe, they're going to be making the money off of it. So it doesn't really make a difference. So it could be a combination of that, or just like Rand was saying, it could be a little bit also of the fact that maybe they're treading a little bit lightly this year, because technically next year is supposed to be the real year that they got, full amnesty on the game and they could do whatever they want with it at that point. You know what I'm saying? And then they're able to just say, okay, you know what? Full blitzkrieg on this. This is ours now. Put the Xbox logos in front of everything, Game Pass, this and that, whatever, if they want to. But why bother? Because like I said, again, why bother when no matter where you consume this product, they will be making all the money on it, except for the 30% that when they're selling it on a Sony platform.
That's kind of like my big gripe with Xbox right now. And you nailed it when you said that, Mag, that I don't like some of the ways that Xbox kind of pushes their platform out and kind of devalues the draw to Game Pass or the console or whatever. But either way, they're going to make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Leper in the chat. First of all, you can't even spell leper, right? You prick. And then he puts, good seeing you, Rand. Not so much everyone else. Why are you here?
Well, first of all,
he's here for me.
For Leper, like he loves Rand. Everybody loves Rand.
No, that's not true.
Yes, carry on.
Everybody loves Rand Althor, 19.
That's not true.
But Leper's lying through his teeth because he loves Mag and I. Big fans. Get a lot of messages from him.
And listen, let me tell you something. Dude, you know what they do with lepers? They put them out in the wild and they let you like slowly fall apart out there. You know, if you read the Bible or anything, that's what they did to them. You know, and the Lord banished they banished the lepers, and that's exactly what's happening here. But anyways, leopard, thank you for watching the show. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and then put the other thumb. Never mind, I won't even say it. Anyways,
speaking of that, blue number gives a $2 super chat. Says Mag back makes us all hot in the pants.
Thank you, blue number. I love you. You're the best.
Red Wolf also gives a super chat. Says, Colt, what does Mag's car sound like? Well, I can do a really good impression of it. Are you ready? I think that's what a EV sounds like, right? Is that what a Tesla sounds like when you drive it?
It sounds like nothing.
It sounds like Canadian speed is what it sounds like.
Jesse Darby. Jesse Darby, you used to come to us for Gaming After Dark and all that. All of a sudden, you're not a fan anymore?
Yeah, we are here for Rand.
You better be joking, Jesse. You better be joking, Jesse. You better be joking.
Sometimes I put stuff on my list, Mag, and I don't want to talk about it.
Talk about it.
Okay, let's just take 1 minute to talk about it. So apparently people are really mad that Ubisoft paid for Disney tickets early last week for Star Wars Outlaws. They let people go to Disneyland, like really expensive trip to Disneyland. And there are people that were really mad. I want to ask this one to Rand because Rand is what I would consider a big time influencer. People are really mad that, yeah. People are really mad that these people might be coaxed into giving a good review. And I thought it was funny because I can see where they're coming from. Like, oh, you get wined and dined. I got wined and dined for Redfall, and then I said the preview was great and the game sucked. Yeah. But,
did you get wined and dined though? I thought you did. I thought you didn't. I thought it was more like get over here really quickly, play this game, and get the fudge out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did go to a restaurant and I got like free Coca-Cola and some more and some like
hot free Coke. I'm giving this game a 9 out of 10.
This is a banger.
Yeah.
Artichoke dip. Yeah.
Nobody's ever loved me as much as Arcane has loved me.
And then Arcane's like, we're out of here. I don't know. I thought this was funny, Rand, because here you got these TikTokers and Twitch streamers that you probably don't even watch. I'm talking to the whole audience, right? You probably never heard of this TikToker or this Twitch streamer, whoever, that got wined and dined and got sent to a Disneyland and could possibly be bribed into giving Star Wars Outlaws a good review. Like,
bribed. I love how you say that. They were bribed.
Yeah, that's yeah. Give me your opinion on this thing.
This is sort of normal for that whole space, and it's not exclusive to video games. This goes on in like every industry. I mean, you'll hear about it in the movie industry, or you'll hear about it in like the pharmaceutical industry, where like these companies will take out not necessarily the influencers, but they'll go on these lavish trips, right? I mean, hell, there's even like some talk of like Supreme Court justices doing some of this stuff, and yeah, so it's like it's a part of a marketing event that they were putting on for Star Wars Outlaws, where they invited some people to play the game locally. Some people got to play it through the cloud, like Jez. And some people who were fortunate enough to get invited got to, experience a day in Disneyland for free, essentially, as part of the experience of that. I'm sure Ubisoft the hope is that like they enjoy the experience so much that they want to give the game a better review or a better preview.
Yeah.
But I mean, you'll always hear about these things in every space possible, where these PR companies are trying to butter up to people, corporations, influencers, what have you. So this isn't like a separate experience, or it happens all the time. I'm just kind of surprised that there haven't been more reporting on other things that have happened in the past. It's kind of like, oh my, and there's kind of outrage around this, like, how dare you? And it's not even like the review of the game. It was just like a preview event, right?
I've been to some of these, and they gave them VIP, which is like an $800 ordeal over to Disneyland for the day. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, what did they do? Hey, we'll pay for your Uber over to Anaheim, and here's
pay for your ticket to get in.
That's weird. That's super
pay for
weird.
some food. Yeah, but it's all, I mean, I guess you could say, doesn't Disneyland have like a Star Wars experience? Don't
That's
they
what
have
I was
that?
going to tie it into. Mag, have you been to that? The
What?
Star Wars area in
Yeah,
Disneyland?
yeah. No,
I mean, that would be cool. Like, hey, we want to get you into Disneyland. We've got like a special experience. We want you to go through and get into the mood for Star Wars Outlaws. Go into I forgot what the place is called in Disneyland for the Star Wars thing. I don't know. Greg says that's buttering up. I mean, absolutely.
It is buttering up.
Super
But the thing
weird.
is, I sort of feel like anyone who's been in the business long enough, that stuff just slides right off of them. It doesn't affect what they feel about the game or whatever. What it would affect is maybe someone's first time. Someone's first time being wined and dined like that, you probably could slightly change your opinion. Like, oh, you sit down to review Star Wars Outlaws and you're like, man, I really feel like this is a 7.5.
Or someone could say, "Oh, I don't want to give it a bad score. They were so nice, and
so
they
I'm gonna bump
gave me
it
all those
up to an 8.
considerations."
And I think maybe that could be something that could work subconsciously on a person who's never experienced it before. But I feel like for the people who have experienced it time and time again, it doesn't mean anything to them, right?
Yeah.
Just like, you get a free code for the first time. You're like, wow, what? But then you get your 100th free code and it doesn't matter anymore. And that feeling that you used to get is gone about it. Like, I don't know, Mag, what do you think along those lines? You have a different opinion?
No.
About the whole influencer thing, inviting people out, paying for the stuff, doing all those sort of things.
Most of the people I know do exactly that. And like I have a lot of Hollywood connections, whatever else. Those people, what ends up happening, like when you're talking about like the YouTubers, the grifters, the TikTokers, whatever else, what the companies do is they pay you, they give you like a $5,000 gift bag full of fancy stuff. They drive you out there, you go see the movie, you get the red carpet treatment, you get to meet the stars, and then they let you have that, like they do that 1 minute like first impressions review that you're allowed to do, but not like a full review. And if it's not positive, they never invite you back. And I know that as a fact,
that's a good
because
point.
I know the guys who do that, and I know the guys who are in charge of that kind of thing. And so if you do, and Disney is the most egregious for it. And so it's no surprise here that Disney and Ubisoft are doing the exact same thing. And they do that so that if you don't give them exactly what they want to hear, they won't say anything negative about you. They're not going to, not allow you to review it or whatever, but they'll never be invited back.
I mean, isn't that more attuned to if someone like came back and said Redfall is an absolute abortion? It's right. What were they thinking? Or there's the reviewer that's like, the world really felt empty and I felt like there was a lot of things that were undercooked. There definitely is a difference, but I think there might be some truth to what Mag's saying, that if someone's like, here's my constructive criticism, I'm expecting the game to not do all that well. They flew me out, and then they're like, yeah, then that studio, that particular publisher may not invite you out again. And then people say, you're such a shill because you're only saying nice things because they bought you and they paid for your plane ticket. It is the worst situation to be in. And I've been in it.
Right. And what they do is that a lot of them, like, for example, if you watch the Disney movies, especially the atrocious movies that have come out since Endgame came out up until now, up until Deadpool Wolverine. But like a lot of those movies in between and the TV shows, whatever, you have all these people going out there and they're all like, oh, this is fantastic. And every first impression is incredible. And then you see the movie and you're like, what the hell happened? All that is those first impressions get that opening $100 million weekend, which is what they want right off the bat, right? And then when you get international involved, you're talking $200 to $300 to $400 million opening weekend, and you're totally fine. And then, you know what I mean? And then the rest is just gravy. So that's what those early impressions do. That's why when you see something like when it comes to Disney specifically, again, I'm going to bring them up, is that all of the first impressions are nothing but positive. And that is exactly why. And so these guys are doing this. So when I heard the story, I'm like, well, this is no shock to anybody who follows anything in the Hollywood business. This is exactly what they do. They do all of that and more. And like I said, they give you all these packages. They drive you, they pick you up, they fly you out, they do whatever. They treat you well. They give you hors d'oeuvres. You get to meet the stars. You know what I mean? Like you get to meet the stars. Harrison Ford's right there. And you're like, holy crap, there's Harrison Ford, and everybody's starstruck and whatever else. And then they're not like, okay, without saying it, but they're saying it. They're like, you got to say something positive, or you're not part of the party anymore. That's why you got those guys out there, that've been fighting with each other and everything else, like other YouTubers and everything else. You got the I'm not going to name names of some of the big YouTubers that are sort of clashing, because some of them are not invited to any of the events because they say it like it is. And then you get the the John Campias of the world who like literally shill for everything Disney. And what a surprise, every single Disney event and gala, he's right there front and center, taking pictures and everything else, and he shills for everything. He comes out of the theater, Shang-Chi is the greatest movie that Marvel's ever made. I watched that movie, I fell asleep in the first 30 minutes. And so like and it didn't do well. And it lost, and it ended up barely breaking even. If in fact it probably even lost money, because they always lie about their budgets. Anyways, the point is they're doing the same thing in the video game world. It's no different. And like I said, it's no surprise that it's Ubisoft and Disney doing exactly what they're doing on the Hollywood side of things. So that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. And shout out to Destin, who's in the chat, who said it didn't go so well with Suicide Squad. And I remember IGN got a lot of flack for being very pointed and critical of their preview of Suicide Squad, Rand. You remember how that all went down? Because if I remember right, IGN was pretty harsh on it.
Yeah, most times previews they lean more positive than negative.
More optimistic than negative.
More optimistic than, because it's like, okay, we only played like 5 hours or what have you.
Or an hour.
And we like these things about it. I mean, even the Redfall previews, 95% of them were super positive.
Yeah.
But people only remember your preview. People don't remember all the other previews for the game.
I was the only one, according to them, there
was a couple that were negative, but everybody else's was positive just like yours, but you get the brunt of it. But Suicide Squad was one of the first times in recent memory where a lot of the previews were negative. And I was kind of like, you don't normally see this in the industry, where it's like, normally it's just kind of positive, but Suicide Squad was quite negative.
It was very negative, but there was something else that happened at the same time when those influencers were brought out there to see the game, whatever else, and of course give their first impressions. The story leaked well before any of that, so I'm going to call that a bit of an outlier, because what ended up happening is the story leaked well ahead of time, where big sites like you got the Nerdrotics out there, you got the Critical Drinker out there. These guys are with 1 million plus 3 million subscriber YouTube channels, got a hold of the story. And once they got a hold of the story and started telling the story beats about, oh, look at this nonsense, look at this woke crap over here, look at this thing over here.
This person's going to die, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can't believe they murdered this guy, and it's like whatever else. And once that got out there, the whirlwind started. And that was even before they were even able to get those previews out there. So that was already going on. So that was a little bit, like Destin is absolutely right. Hi, Destin, by the way. He's absolutely right. But there was some, there was some extenuating circumstances in that specific example. But that's, whatever.
Yeah, my point is that normally
product is a shitty product.
Yeah, so my point is that normally you don't see previews be, they don't normally, fall on the negative side of stuff.
The Redfall thing, I was going to bring up one last quick thing here. The Redfall thing is a little bit interesting too, is because you could have people that said positive things about the game, and there weren't that many people that were going to get fooled by it and buy it because it was coming to a subscription service, right? So that was a little bit different as well. Whereas people didn't get duped into some people got duped into pre-ordering the game or whatever else, and they got that, the edition that never ended up coming out, whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah. Bite Back.
Blood, whatever. That Bite Back, yeah.
Yeah.
So they had that, but the majority of people, see, that was a little bit different. The majority of people were waiting for that to show up on the subscription service. So there weren't that many people getting duped into the purchase of the game. So that's
Look at the camera again. Look at the camera again, Meg.
Yeah, what up?
Your eyes look amazing tonight, bro.
Oh, they're sparkling. I know that.
Amazing. I was going to add to that and say, hey, man crush going on. I was going to add to that and say, I got so much crap, Rand, about Redfall from people who were never going to buy the game. Like, their big complaint was like, oh, you're out here saying the game was going to be amazing. It was going to be game of the year. You gave it a 10 out of 10, like all these lies they fabricated. And I'm like, you weren't going to buy the game. And they're always like, you almost tricked me into spending $70. You were never going to buy the game. And I think there's so much bad faith. And I side a little bit with the bribey, greasy part of this thing with Star Wars Outlaws. And I'm like, That's kind of greasy. Why do you need just be normal? Like give them a meal, buy their lunch, make sure they're comfortable and let them play the game. That should be plenty. You're already paying for their hotel and their flight. Let me get back on track. But the point is that also it's just a preview. And I think we all are getting a good idea from watching different previews, how we feel about the game, if we're going to buy it or not. And if some TikToker gets like the VIP pass into Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, was that person going to make me buy the game? Probably not. I don't know.
Not you, but somebody else.
Yeah, maybe.
Potentially.
It's not like I'm smart, Rand. Like I'm not that easily. I'm not just. I don't know. I just whatever. Okay, I'll move on. I wanted to bring that up. So, do you guys see the new Doom Dark Ages information? I just want to run by this briefly because one of the things they said in there was less verticality than Doom Eternal, which was one of the things I didn't love as much was the crazy parkour puzzles in Doom Eternal. Sounds like it's more grounded. Like when you jump, like you land with a thud and you can use that mech more often.
Sure,
Meg,
they're
did
not
you
just
check into
talking
that?
about. You sure they're not just talking about the verticality of the combat? Because usually when you would end up in a combat arena, there'd be multiple tiers. You know, when you'd be a swing on a pole, jump to a higher thing. I wonder if that's what they're talking about, where it doesn't have that verticality.
Is that what you got from it? Because I was hoping to get from it that there'd be less parkour and climbing.
Well, those were kind of, they're like segmented to kind of string together combat arenas, where you do a combat arena and then you would do maybe some parkour, you do some of that other stuff and you get to another combat arena. But so when they say that to me, I think that they won't have like multi-tiered combat arenas with different ways and the poles to kind of fling yourself up into one, or take the ramp and you'd propel yourself all the way up in the air. So to me, that kind of means that most of the combat scenarios are going to be one tier, maybe two tiers at most. And in the brief footage we've seen of the game, and it's very brief, it did seem like that. It was pretty much one level, more open worldish than like Doom's Eternal's combat arenas were. Because you got to keep things fresh. You can't. I mean, you can keep things the same, but you got to spice it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously felt that they wanted to go for a different style of combat encounters and less of the verticality approach. So that makes it already a little bit more fun for some people, because I know some people didn't like that, and also some people didn't like the fact that you had to change weapons all the time. I remember that was a big problem for some people, because some people wanted to just run around. Some people really just wanted to run around with the super shotgun and just kill everything to death with that weapon. But they really weren't able to, because it limited your ammo. So then you had to use a different gun, and certain guns were better off defeating certain enemies. And then you had, you know what I mean? Like the different ways they kind of made you.
They made you use your weapon switching was part of your strategy.
Yeah, and some people didn't like that, But
I don't know. It looks good.
Because they said it. I think they also said in this that the gore kills are changed.
Gore kills are updated or upgraded, they said, I think.
Yeah, so...
Mag, did you dive into this Doom the Dark Ages Gamescom coverage?
Yeah, I did, and it was interesting to see some of it. Actually, Dreamcast guy ended up talking about it for about 15 minutes. I saw that video. I saw some other people talking about it.
No, I'm just kidding. I like Dreamcast. I'm just kidding. I like him.
Well, so he saw it. He was there. He saw the footage. So he was talking about actually the one thing that he did talk about, which was something I brought up when we first saw. Remember when we first saw the trailer for it, and he had the shield and stuff. And I'm like, I wonder if he's going to throw that shield in the wall like Captain America and then jump on it to be able to get to a higher level or whatever else. Well, apparently that is the case.
Yeah.
So that is a thing. So I'm like, well, hey, it's, we kind of had a good guess on that one. But anyways, as for everything that Ren just talked about, that's nonsense. I don't understand people overanalyzing the hell out of a game that is going to be nothing short of fantastic. So to me, this is a non-story, man. Just ignore everybody. The game sounds like it's incredible from what the people who actually saw it behind the scenes. And that's it. We'll just leave it and wait for it to come out, because I can't wait.
All right, guys.
How am I supposed to get my likes, retweets, and all that stuff on my posts and stuff?
Give me a
Rand,
break.
just tweet out Doom the Dark Ages is for losers. or just
No,
something
I
like
don't
that.
want to do that.
Now,
See, right,
change it
tweet
to
out
the gore
Doom the Dark Ages is woke as F, and then that'll be a tweet. Then you could just grift the views in.
Why can't I buy a bikini for Doom Guy, huh?
Because, we can't see it because it's a first-person shooter.
Yeah,
so
if you have ray
but
tracing,
however,
you can see it.
However, the thing is, this change to the gore system or whatever the
glory
kills.
Just,
is it just the animations? Because I'm assuming it's just be updated animations, like something new, instead of just like grabbing the dude, plucking out his eyeball like the last one.
The last two games were pretty similar in the glory kills. So
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. I thought that was a highlight of the game to me. So I look forward to whatever new, disgustingness they got lined up for us. So I'm all in.
Yeah. All right, guys, win, blast it or win. When's it coming out?
Yeah.
What's your guess?
My guess is May.
I was going to say late spring, early summer, May, June.
What was Doom Eternal? It was Doom 2016 was May. Doom Eternal was March.
Doom Eternal kicked off the pandemic with Animal Crossing in March.
Yeah, it was March. Yeah.
And then Doom 2016 was May.
That always bowls me over when I think about being in a party chat with like you and Dealer and playing Doom Eternal when it was brand new, and we were all like, "Can we go to a drive-through at McDonald's? Do I have to wear a mask?" Like that was the whole thing. That was 4 years ago. Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, we got all right, this is kind of cool. Somebody leaked on Reddit the land vehicle in first person for Starfield, and when I was scrolling through on Twitter,
I saw that.
People made fun of me, but when I first saw it, I thought it was a dune buggy in Mexico in Forza Horizon 5. Of course, it didn't look as colorful, but when I looked at it, I thought, I didn't even read it. I thought, oh, somebody's blasting through the desert, and then I looked at it, and I'm like, somebody leaked the Starfield first-person dune buggy, and it was in like a low, like half gravity or a quarter of the gravity. Did you see this thing, Rand, where it was like just like coasting across?
It moved faster than I was anticipating, and I think it even had gravity boosters on it in some spots. If you watch, I think because it goes so fast,
so you can jump.
Because you might get caught up on terrain. And it was like, well, how are you going to get around that? Well, if you had some boosters, maybe it would. But yeah, it's like, hey, guess what? It took you 30 minutes to get to the end of the world. Now it's only going to take you 5, baby. Now it's only going to take you 5.
Now you can boost your way to the same abandoned pharmaceutical lab that you've seen 100 times. I think it looks really cool. I hope they have, if you can put cargo in it and then drop that off your ship, I don't know. It's got to have something. I know that Mag doesn't play much Starfield, but I thought it was a cool leak, and I didn't retweet it because it got leaked, and then Todd would get mad and say, "Just work." I don't know. Is there anything you want to say about that, Mag? Are you gonna try it out once all this stuff's in? Because they might kind of really elevate the game by the time Shattered Space is out.
I'm more interested in Shattered Space because to me, Shattered Space looked like something that I was a lot more interested. Remember when we talked about it when the trailer came out? I'm like, you know what? This seems a lot more compelling to me personally than the original Starfield. So I'm more interested in giving the Shattered Space a go because it seems like it's a deeper not deeper. I shouldn't say that, but a more comprehensive story, like a smaller compacted package as opposed to spend 1,000 hours out there. You know what I mean? Kind of like doing whatever. I wasn't really interested in that particular game. I wasn't interested in the exploration, and so let's see what happens. I think that a more cohesive package, a smaller cohesive package, might be the better option for me. So we'll see how that goes, and then we'll see if I saw the video on Twitter of the land vehicle doing its thing, and I'm like, all right, well, let's see. But that's about it. I really got nothing else to say because I kind of checked out of that game a year ago. So
okay, Rand, you're not touching that sucker till everything's out, right?
I mean, I'll play Starfield again when Shattered Space comes out. Yeah.
You're right. You guys are right.
Do we have a ballpark on Shattered Space? What's the story here?
I don't know. I'm so frustrated. I'm like, is it going to be like the first week of September? Like Xbox, why aren't you saying that? And Rand's typical reply was like rationale to me. Remember when I asked you on the phone, like, why aren't they saying when the date is? And what did you say, Rand?
Because it's an expansion, and they don't. It's like a lot of people already own the expansion through the $100 premium version and the $35 Game Pass thing. So, because it was like a bonus for it, it's not something that they need to widely advertise beforehand. It's just an expansion and DLC, so you can do it a month before.
Do you think?
Like I'm expecting sometime in mid-September and September for it to come out.
So they could actually announce it in like a week or two. Do you think that
I
people...
I would expect the announcement to be at Gamescom.
Oh, okay. Do you think that people more so just want to know what the date is so they can say this is when it's coming?
Yes.
I think sometimes I feel like, why isn't Xbox marketing? But really, I just want to know. Let me read a couple of chats here. We got KJ Wars who says, "What's up, guys?" And Rebel says, "Stalker 2 is going to be for the people who love immersive sim, military sim, post-apocalyptic theme, hardcore survival horror, played agency, etc." Red Wolf did a whole video about the Stalker trilogy, which you can buy out now on Xbox. He talked about what to expect from the game and what it's like. And I was watching some of the deep dive today. It's all in Ukrainian, but I watch it with subtitles. I watched like 10 minutes. And it's going to scratch one of those itches that I have, Mag, where you go around and you look and you pick up gear. Do I need this? I desperately need that. Ooh, I need this item. You go around and you just wait for enemies to try and pounce you, which is not like a bullet or shooting gallery.
Right.
It's pretty immersive looking, and holy crap, does it look unbelievably good.
Yeah. I look forward to getting into it. That's the first one. There's such a gap between the first and the second one. I'm just like, okay, well, let's see how. You know what I mean? It's not like it'd be like, oh, I just played the last one like 2 years ago, and I'm right back into it. For me, this is going to be basically an entirely new experience, right? And so I got that Metro vibe from the whole situation. Like the scavenging for parts and all this other kind of stuff and whatever, and the basically building weapons out of like Scotch tape and straws or whatever, right? So and maybe some like random champagne corks. I don't know,
Babushka.
But either way. Yeah, I'm interested. Obviously, I'm gonna play it. Obviously, day one, gonna give it a shot, and then we'll take it from there. If it grabs me, if it gets hooks in me, then you just don't know until you get your hands on it. You know what I mean?
I hear it's tough. I hear it's really difficult, challenging.
Oh,
game.
I'm not worried about the challenge. Like challenge is always something I've always actually really gone head first into. I really enjoy that. So I got no problem with that. It's just as long as the game is good, immersive, and a lot of fun, and I want to keep going back. That is all that matters to me. So
okay, I got to ask Rand, what do you expect? How will this be received? How well do you think the game will be? And how long will be its exclusivity window, Randall Thor?
What game?
Stalker 2.
I thought they already announced that 3 months, wasn't it?
Well,
I mean, that was in
2021 or 2022. There was like a leak.
Oh, okay, I don't know. I thought it was 3 months.
It might have been 2021.
Months, but, I mean, it very well could have been extended. I think allow the delays and maybe Xbox like gave them more money. You could extend the time period, but I mean, it could be 3 months. But then could they actually build another version that quickly? So it could actually be one of those things where like Final Fantasy's exclusivity is already up and it's been up for a while, but there isn't another version yet. So just because like it's 3 months doesn't mean there'll be something out 3 months later. But
how good do you think it'll be?
I don't know. I've never played a Stalker game, so I'm not sure how good it's going to be. I mean, it looks cool. It may not. From what I understand, Stalker is not for everybody. Right? If you're going in thinking it's like Call of Duty or a shooter of that variety, then you're probably not going to like it. This is like an immersive sim and it's kind of like hardcore. So it's definitely built for a certain audience.
A patient audience.
That might affect how people view it. They may be thinking the game is like this, but in reality, it's like this. So they might get disappointed by it. I don't know. I mean, you could see it. It's probably definitely going to be coming to other platforms in 2025 for sure. It's just a matter of when, right? Because they're probably all busy trying to get the Xbox version and the PC version ready for launch because they're in a war zone. So even it might take a little bit longer for them to suddenly spin up another version of the game. So
your prediction being that it was leaked that there was a 3-month exclusivity window, but maybe that was like the target
that was
window.
Part of, if I remember, that was part of the Apple versus Epic trial. One of those things came up. It was like that specific contract then was for 3 months, but that was all the way back then that, that deal could have been extended. Because I know Xbox was helping them out with things, so maybe because of that, instead of 3 months, it's 6 months. And just because it's only 3 months, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have another version built so quickly.
Right.
So it could take a lot longer to get it ready.
I just don't see Xbox saying, hey, we worked with you for a long time on this. Can we pay for an extra exclusivity window? Xbox usually does the bare minimum. So if it originally was 3 months, I would expect them to target 3 months, and it'll be up to GSC Studios to get it ready whenever they can within that 3 months or longer. So I would go with Rand's guess that it could be 3 to 6 months, depending on when a PS5 version's ready. It's going to be on PC anyway and Xbox. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could be a year for all you know, just for how long it takes them to make a version. Like I said, it probably comes somewhere to other platforms somewhere in 2025. Yeah. But that could be anywhere from January and February to September. I mean, it maybe comes to other platforms a year after launch. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope it's good. Sith Lord chats, Rand is watching Mag fall asleep while live. Mag missed you last week, but I think Holly and Rand are coming for your replacement. Hope everyone is well. While you were gone, we had Holly and Red Wolf on there, and people are like, hopefully we can keep it together. So when Red and I get together, nothing ever gets accomplished, but appreciate you, Sith Lord. Steven Mewtwo says, thank you for the $5 super. Says, I think Activision is afraid of losing their sales of Call of Duty to Game Pass, so Xbox is forced to not do the marketing for Game Pass. I think Mag's right. They'll win either way. I think it's a good answer.
They win either way. There's no point.
Yeah. Literal Table, thank you for the Canadian $2.79, says, the Call of Duty trailer on Xbox YouTube channel has the Game Pass ads. Yep. You clocked that, so did Rand. They do their own stuff on the Xbox channel. The Doctor, good friend and family member and or related by somehow, the Doctor to Mag, says, would you guys watch an 18 plus live action Mike Tyson's Punch Out movie? I would watch the crap out of that.
What does that even mean?
Would you, if they had actors playing all the characters from Mike Tyson's Punch Out and there was a movie about that, would you watch it?
No, but like he specifically said 18 plus. Like how hardcore are we talking about here? Like, are we gonna like?
Well, King Soda Popinski would not be drinking soda pop; he'd be drinking vodka in that version. I'm a big fan. That's probably one, if not one or two of my top games next to Ninja Gaiden on the NES. I would watch the crap out of a full CGI, like, the Rand. You remember the Super Punch Out on the Super NES?
I don't know. I never played it.
Have you seen it before? Like,
nope.
Okay. Well, the Super NES version of Punch Out has really, really good visuals. I would watch a high quality. Well, I think so does the Wii. The Wii version looks amazing. I would watch that, but not live action, Doctor.
Yeah, I have no interest in watching a live action video game adaptation of Punch Out with Mike Tyson. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? I figured out what would make it 18 plus though. If when you punch King Hippo in the stomach and his pants fall down, you get full frontal. You get full frontal male nudity. So, like Game of Thrones and like House of the Dragon style, full frontal male nudity as soon as you punch King Hippo. Yeah, or the boys. Punch him in the stomach. His drawers come down. Full frontal.
Everyone in the theater is like waiting for that moment when he punches the Band-Aid on his stomach, and they're like,
18
wait
plus.
For King's Hippo to come out.
And except he's not punching the Band-Aid, if you know what I mean.
Well, there it is, folks. That's what
you got to be careful when someone. You got to be careful when someone says they want an 18 plus version of any Nintendo franchise. Yeah. Meat Puppet, thank you so much for the chat. So, do you think Xbox will actually buy WB or will the Feds step in like they will? We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll see how that goes. One more. Noise FOMO, thanks to Canadian 5 says, Rand and Mag in the chat, Alex and Destin in another. What the heck is happening this week? You're all awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
What happened with Alex and Destin?
I didn't see Alex in the chat, but Destin was here. Oh my gosh, Alex he's been like cooking these fanboys, and everyone gets mad because he doesn't cook Xbox guys. But for the most part, Xbox guys have been really quiet because they've been beat down with some of the crazy news lately. All right, let me move forward here. I'm not going to cover that. So did you see, I'll take this one for Rand. I'll give this one to Rand. This is kind of funny. Jason Schreier was in an interview, talked about the whole Bungie thing. We covered it last week. It's kind of gotten boring by now, but according to him, it's not in a good place. Marathon, the game, is not in a good place, which is not all that surprising to me, knowing nothing. I don't know. Rand, how do you feel about Marathon? What do you expect from it? What does he mean?
I don't know what to expect from it. We don't know what it is. We only saw one trailer for it, so it's tough to gauge what it was supposed to be. I guess it was originally supposed to be an extraction shooter, and it may not be anymore.
A what shooter? An
extraction shooter.
Oh, extraction. Okay.
But the fact that Bungie's been having all these issues since they joined PlayStation, and it's kind of a revolving door over there, and Sony's kind of taken over control. It does kind of seem like, yeah, there's some big problems over at Bungie. And Marathon leadership shifted. It was originally, I think somebody was the game director, and then he left, and there was a new game director. So there's a lot of like upper leadership changes for that game. So it's kind of like, ooh, that's not good. And I think even Jason Schreier said there's a chance it may not even come out next year. That it could be a 2026 game, and it was supposed to be originally 2024. Then they shifted it to 2025.
Oh, it was.
And now it's like, all right, well, it may not even be 2026, but it sounds like Bungie. I mean, like 1,300 employees, and now they're down to 850. PlayStation is going to take all the best people for themselves for whatever they plan on doing. They spun off that other incubation team into a new studio. So it really does seem like Bungie oversold themselves or oversold what they are capable of. And I think PlayStation at the time was like, we gotta answer for Microsoft buying Activision. We can't sit still. We got to do something. And they made the decision to buy Bungie because at the time you think, all right, well, this makes sense. We got Jim Ryan's live service plan, right? Like we haven't really done live service because all of our games are, as people would say, quote unquote, one and done. Right?
Yeah.
But now we're doing live services, which takes a different approach because games can launch broken, and if you put more time into them, maybe they come back. What's the monetization approach you have to take? Do you do premium game versus free to play? There's a lot of different variables within that whole thing, like the economy and all that stuff. But PlayStation, sure, they may have data from the Fortnites and the Call of Duties and the Apexes, but they haven't built it themselves. So, okay, Bungie's available, and we're going to get them. And I understand at that point in time, it probably made all the sense in the world. We gotta counter what Microsoft just did with Activision. We're doing our own live service stuff, so let's bring on.
And
Bungie,
Destiny is very successful.
Yeah,
regardless of what we think of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're very successful, but they were trying to sell themselves to not only Xbox a few years ago, but now PlayStation. It kind of seems that they didn't really have any extra money to fall back on. So I don't know. Was it that successful? Sure, maybe player count and revenue, but it really didn't seem like Bungie was able to keep themselves independent.
It's definitely not PlayStation's fault.
They bought themselves out of the contract with Activision, and then a few years later, they're already looking to sell themselves again, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, but Bungie, for whatever reason, I don't know. It's just one of those things where sometimes when you think it's a really good deal and this makes all the sense in the world, the person that you thought they were, they ended up not being like, you meet a really hot girl at the bar and she's got her makeup all done and she looks a certain way and you're like, God damn, she's gorgeous. Then you get her home and the makeup's gone and
she looks like soccer.
And then you wake, you're like, oh, like, what did I do? Like, that's not the person that I saw last night. It's kind of that situation with Bungie. And now PlayStation needs to take control.
And just to be fair, guys, Rand is the expert on picking up beautiful women.
Yes, the expert.
Yeah, absolute expert.
Absolute expert. You know how many times that's happened to me, Colt?
More than
total of 0 times.
No, Sean, Gaz knows all about bringing home. You know what? I can't say it. Let's just say he goes to Thailand for fun. All right. We love Gaz.
Yeah, it's man, it is a situation where you're looking at like, man, there are some leadership problems at Bungie for sure.
It's not PlayStation's fault, right? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know whose fault it is. I just think
common denominator.
Some people will blame Bungie, some people will blame PlayStation. But I mean, you look at the history of Bungie. When Bungie had problems during the Halo days, everybody blamed Microsoft, right? Then they left and they went with Activision. And when Destiny was having its problem, everybody blamed Activision. And then Bungie left. And then, they get acquired by PlayStation, and then people started blaming PlayStation. But now you're looking at it like, I don't know. Well, maybe it's been Bungie the whole time. And it was just easy to blame Microsoft and Activision. I even heard something, like, I think I was watching somebody's stuff who's in the know, and he was like, Activision had to stop Bungie from overcharging consumers. Like they
I
had
saw
this
that
whole,
too.
like, and it's like Activision was the one that was Activision, like appalled, like, no, like you can't do that.
Was that Asmongold's clip that we both saw?
No, not Asmongold.
It was somebody that said that else. Activision was trying to get Bungie to lower their monetization model because they were trying to charge all this extra money outside of the game or within the game. And it was Bungie apparently that was pushing hard and saying, no, we want to milk more money out of it. Mag, how are you feeling about Bungie and Destiny, and what's their future?
First of all, Marathon. I don't know anybody who's got a candle in their window waiting for this game. So, let's be honest. And the other thing is, I've never liked Bungie. I haven't liked Bungie since the early days after Halo 3 and whatever else. My problem with them is that it's clearly a management issue. I'm not talking about the people who are working there, like the people that are on the ground actually developing these games and stuff like that. It's not really them. They're not really the ones calling the shots in this situation. To me, it's the management that's the issue here. And this whole thing with Sony, I'm like, yes, Sony, destroy them. Cut them in pieces. Take all the best talent and just dissolve these guys. They're a waste of time. They're a bunch of crybabies. I've been listening to their bullshit for 10 years of this and that. We want to be independent. So they're independent. Then Microsoft, we need someone to take care of us. Then they got Microsoft. We want to be independent. All right, so they go independent. Then Activision gets them. We want to be independent again. They go independent. We can't afford this. Then Sony picks them up. We want to be independent again. Like, Jesus Christ, man. How many, like, what is it? Now, Rand said it. They were blaming Microsoft. They were blaming Activision. Now they're blaming Sony. Do we not see the pattern here? This is like an addict. You know when like a drug addict is out there and then before they go to rehab, they blame everybody but themselves for their problems? And you're like, wow, it must be the 20 people around you who are the problem, not you who are the problem, right? They are the problem. They need a massive intervention and they're getting it, and I'm glad they're getting it. I feel bad for the workers because actually the workers, they're the ones who suffer the most in the end, right? Because they're the ones who are not going to get those, the big golden parachutes and this and that, whatever, of all the executives and the fancy cars and all that kind of stuff. These are the guys that are clocking in, clocking out, doing their work and whatever else. And they're the ones in the end who are going to have to suffer, right? They're going to break up the team, move them over here, move them over there. And it sucks. The management, they should destroy every single one of them, get rid of all of them, start over again. You've got the employee. Fucking no, the hell with them. Hell with them. Any other industry would have completely decimated these people by now. Get rid of them all, restructure.
Meg's talking about the leadership, and absolutely, I'm right behind you. Absolutely.
I'm not talking about the workers. I feel bad. Like I said, I feel bad for the people that are working there, the people that are on the ground in the trenches doing the work. That sucks for them. And it really does suck for them. But it's the management. It's their failure at the end of the day. All of that is 100% their failure.
This also in the chat just hired you to run Bungie, Mag. He just gave you.
I don't want to run Bungie because I don't like Destiny and this Marathon. I don't even know what the hell it is. If they've got talented people,
it looks like Brink to me.
Put their talents towards something better, man. It's just not my jam, and I don't think it's going to make the mark that everybody thinks. Like some people think it's going to make. Their days, I don't know. To me, I think they should just move on to something else, restructure the company, get rid of the management, and start over again, which I think is what they're doing.
I'd say
take it from there.
I'd say Bungie has a magic, and their games typically seem to be really well. Destiny didn't do it for me, but there is magic there. And that really comes down to those leaders and people who make the game. But it's interesting to me that PlayStation wrote in some stipulations in the contract to where they could do a hostile takeover if things went awry. And it actually shows really great forethought with PlayStation that they were able to make sure that if this happened, that they'd be able to dissolve those teams and get their money out of what they invested in. Because if it means the great talent is broken up and kind of used within PlayStation Studios, then things are going to be okay. And that brings us to our next topic, because that's exactly what happened this past week. Jez Corden from Windows Central, the co-host of Xbox 2 with Randolph Thor, broke one of the biggest gaming news articles of the month, that Tangogameworks was picked up by Krafton Studios, the team behind PUBG, who had partnered with Xbox back 6 years ago. This looks from the very outset as bad news for Xbox fans. Like, oh my gosh, Hi-Fi Rush was one of their biggest brand new popular IPs, and they let it go, and now they've sold it off, and they don't have the rights to it. It's going to move on. But I think most people could step back and say this is a good thing. Rand, what's going on with Tangogameworks? Like, where does stuff belong? Where's it going to go? Who's running this? And how did Microsoft, are they helping?
Well, I mean, they're helping by the tune of, like, selling them to somebody else instead of completely being shut down and everybody losing their jobs. I mean, this news came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting this. And I think it's absolutely fantastic, because you talk about Tangogameworks, they're a studio that has a rich history, with Evil Within, Ghostwire Tokyo, and they put out this critically acclaimed game that came out of nowhere last year that everybody seemed to love, but didn't really have the player support, whether it was on PC or elsewhere. And a lot of people were, all right, can't wait for the sequel. Hi-Fi Rush 2, we're going to do bigger, better, right? That'll be when it makes its mark. And then Xbox did the unthinkable. Out of nowhere, they shut them down alongside Arcane and
their only
Alpha
Japanese
Dog.
studio.
Their only Japanese studio, which they talked about at length about how they wanted a Japanese studio, and they folded a lot of Arcane and Alpha Dog and I think one of the other Roundhouse into the Elder Scrolls team. But it seemed like Tangogameworks, because it was in Japan, on the other side of the world, where there's a language barrier, because what Xbox tends to do with some of their studios, and we've seen this a lot, is they'll go and they'll help out on each other's projects. And so while somebody's building, like, hey, let's get some concept going up for Hellblade 3, for example, or whatever Ninja Theory's doing next, you have everybody else there being like, okay, we can go help on Gears, we can help on whatever other stuff, right? We have a motion capture studio people could come use, so there's value there with that. And I think with Tango, it was going to be a while for their next game, and I think Mikami left and took a lot of people with him because he was going to form his own studio. And it was one of those things where you couldn't put them to help other games, so it was like a financial decision of like, well, we're not going to get anything then for years, so let's just like cut costs, right? And everybody didn't like it because it was like, but wait a minute, like you wanted a Japanese studio, like I don't need to go over the whole rigmarole of why they shut down Tango. They did it, everybody hated it, right? Like Microsoft could come out and say business reasons, and it's like, yeah, I understand business reasons, but it feels shitty, right? And now we have a reprieve for them, because I think at some point Microsoft has a history of, if they don't necessarily want to shut down people or studios, but they'll try to let them go independent or maybe sell them off to other places. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to sell off Tangogameworks before they shut them down. They just couldn't find a buyer, right? And maybe they just kept on working, and they eventually found Krafton, and Krafton wanted the opportunity, and it was like, okay, we'll take on Tango, and we'll take the Hi-Fi Rush IP. I've seen people say, well, why not give them the Evil Within IP or the Ghostwire Tokyo IP, because Microsoft's probably never going to use those again. And it's like, well, Krafton may not have wanted any of those other ones. Maybe there's like, this team wants to make HiFi Rush. We'll take the HiFi Rush. We don't really have any interest in Evil Within or Ghostwire Tokyo. This is the one that we have interest in. This is the one that will grow. And here we are in a situation where most times you see studios close and people lose their jobs. This is a rare situation where months after a studio closure, somebody bought them and now they're back. And now we will see most likely a HiFi Rush 2 in 4 years or something like that.
Did they only buy the Tangogameworks employees, the name, and HiFi Rush? Or can Ghostwire Tokyo and Evil Within... where do those IPs belong?
I think, don't quote me on this because I don't know if anybody's really sure. I think Microsoft retains the rights to Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo. I think Krafton just got HiFi and they just got Tango. And it's one of those things where that was probably a part of the deal because it's like you don't want to get Tango without the IP. So it's like, okay, you get Tango, and here's the IP to go along with it. And I think HiFi Rush has a greater future ahead of it than potentially Ghostwire Tokyo, or Evil Within. And like Krafton just tried to do their own Dead Space not that long ago, and that ended up being a failure. So would they really want to? Yeah, but would you really want to do like, all right, let's try to make our own Resident Evil, which is kind of Evil Within.
Yep.
And Evil Within wasn't the most successful series around.
Meg, you like Callisto Protocol, didn't you?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought Callisto Protocol was as mediocre as you could get in video games.
I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it because I played Callisto Protocol, and then what was it? Not long after I played the Dead Space remake.
3 months later.
I actually preferred Callisto Protocol over Dead Space.
Really?
Oh, I thought Dead Space was amazing.
I thought there was nothing that Callisto Protocol did that was better than the 2009 Dead Space.
Fair enough. Hey, man.
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
I'm with Mag. Like the pacing wasn't as well paced in Callisto Protocol, and the game looked amazing most times. But it was a smaller team, so I was glad I played it. But once I played Dead Space Remake, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Dead Space is a classic. Yeah. So, Anyway. But I think this is great news. I think it was awesome that Microsoft continued, even after all this time, to maybe find a landing spot for Tango. I think it's great that we're eventually going to see HiFi Rush 2, because that's something I think everybody really wanted.
Why does Xbox want to find a buyer for the IP because they're losing money in that segment, and they're like, well, if we can find a studio to buy Tango and its employees, did they sell them to them because they dissolved the studio, or they just kind of like temporarily shut them down while it's in flux? Because I don't understand how that happens, but you're making it sound like they kind of had them in limbo, and then they're like, maybe we can sell them to someone who's willing to take them for this price.
I mean, clearly that's what happened, because why would Krafton's not going to buy Tangogameworks with no employees?
Oh yeah, I know.
So clearly there was some, maybe it has to do with Japanese law, because I know there's some differences.
Japanese law.
Well, I think there's some differences in Japanese law in regards to like firing people and how long it takes, and versus like how long it would take in America. There are some differences in other countries when it comes to that. So maybe they were still employed, or maybe there were still severance packages. I don't know, but
hasn't been
like Krafton's not going to buy them if the people aren't there. They aren't going to be like, hey, we got Tangogameworks, now we got to fill it up with people who made HiFi Rush, who already maybe went out and got new jobs at other companies. So clearly the people were still at Tango, and they obviously go with them so they can continue to build HiFi Rush, and they probably weren't going to buy them without an IP to work on.
Yeah.
So, okay, HiFi Rush is the one that everybody wants. It's the one that has the most potential, the best future. So, okay, you get HiFi Rush 2.
And the head of, I forgot his name, John Johansson or something like that.
John Johannes, yeah.
John Johannes, he is like, we're so back or something like that the other day.
Yeah, I'm sure because everybody was pissed off when they shut them down, and now everybody's happy that they're back, and it's a great ending, and it doesn't absolve Microsoft for shutting them down in the first place, but it's like, all right, cool. you did right by them. You
I guess,
found them another place, and now they can continue to work.
I guess, but what about this, Mag? Krafton Studios that makes PUBG, which is popular, was able to afford to hold on to Tango and keep them going, but the $1 trillion company Microsoft wasn't? Like, does that bother you a little bit?
Well, you know what it is at the end of the day is that Microsoft doing what they're doing with this giant acquisition situation that which is going to bleed into other things, with this WB and all this other stuff, biting off a little bit more than they could chew. I understand there's redundancies in jobs, especially when you have acquisitions and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's why you don't want to see more of that happen, because you're going to see some of these teams be pulled apart and whatever and utilized elsewhere, or just let go entirely. They're lucky that Krafton was able to pick them up and be able to do something with them. They're able to keep the HiFi Rush IP, excuse me. But here's the thing: I saw a lot of people high-fiving each other. Yeah. All right, I want to see and I want to make sure, and I've got all the receipts right here. Let me just pull them up here. I got all the receipts right here for the people that, all the people high-fiving. I hope you're part of the 7.9% that completed the game.
Oh!
You know what I'm saying? Yeah! High five! It's back! Yeah!
So back, bro.
Yeah, and somehow that was a win for Microsoft too. And I'm like, Microsoft is the one who took them apart. Like, why are people thinking this is some kind of like a Microsoft win? It's not. They disbanded the studio, for crying out loud.
And they sold them for a discount too.
Here it is, right here, here. I'll put it right up on the screen. Everybody can see it.
That's your porn, bro.
I mean, it's probably going to be out of focus.
Well,
whatever.
that was
7.9%. 7.9%.
I finished it. Rand finished it.
Well, then you're part of the 7.9%.
I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Who finished
7.9% of what?
Finished Hi-Fi Rush.
I know, but of what? What's the number?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just looking at the achievements here. The achievement list, it says only 7.9% of gamers unlocked this. That was finish the game and complete every level on normal. On easy difficulty, 1.26% of gamers unlock, because the difficulty achievements.
Yeah, the achievements don't stack.
They don't stack. Yes, but a lot of a lot of people do play the game on easy before they play it on normal or hard or whatever. But either way, I guess not in this game, because only 1.26% of gamers unlocked the game on easy. The third boss in the game, 48% completed it. And the fourth boss in the game, only 30.6% of the gamers completed it. So the people high-fiving, let's see you now support the game now that you're going to have to pay for it. And now it's not going to...
Nobody bought it on PlayStation.
No, I'm not. But I'm talking about the Xbox specifically.
I don't know. I could still see the sequel come to Game Pass. That could be a condition of the deal.
It could be, but I think a lot of the conditions that were up front were about the staffing, about the management positions, and of course being able to take the IP. And don't forget, the other arrangement is that those other games are still available in Game Pass now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? So that is part of the agreement of being able to take the Hi-Fi Rush IP with them, the other games staying in Game Pass, and of course, keeping the managerial and employee structure of the company intact while they go over there to Krafton and the way that they did it. So yes, there's a possibility that the new Hi-Fi Rush 2, assuming that they make a Hi-Fi Rush 2, that could end up on Game Pass in the next 4 years. Sure, why not?
I mean, it's like saying Sunset Overdrive 2 could come to Game Pass because Xbox owned the IP. Yeah, it's kind of the same. Even though
it's kind of the same. Yeah.
Their direct competitor now owns that.
No, they didn't own. No, Microsoft didn't own the Sunset Overdrive IP. They own the publishing rights to it.
I know they don't own. Yeah. They don't own the IP anymore, right?
No, they don't.
They never did the IP at all.
So, and they don't own Hi-Fi Rush's IP because Krafton has it.
No, Xbox owned Microsoft owned the Hi-Fi Rush IP. Now they don't because
now they don't. That's what I'm saying. It would be like.
So I'm saying there could be conditions of sale, like if you make a Hi-Fi Rush 2, it has to appear on Xbox.
That's interesting.
If you make a Hi-Fi Rush 2, it also has to be on game. There could be conditions of sale that we don't know about that wouldn't be publicized yet.
We would never know.
So,
until much later. I mean, we probably won't even know anything like that probably till closer to release of the game.
Krafton also does a lot of mobile stuff.
The game.
So you never know, like Hi-Fi Rush 2 could be mobile only. You never know what could happen.
You don't
because
know.
Hi-Fi Rush wasn't a big sales success.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. The reason why I brought that up, I wasn't trying to dunk on anybody. The reason why I brought that up, I'm sure I pissed off some people in the chat, but I brought it up specifically because not on paper, they would have to look at it and say, you know what, it was a great IP, and it was and the people that played it enjoyed it, but on paper, it really didn't make a whole lot of money. And it didn't really do well. So do they move forward with something that didn't do well? Regardless of how people feel about it.
It doesn't seem like an expensive game, Rand. Did you think they made their money back on Hi-Fi Rush?
John Johannes been in interviews talking about how it was kind of expensive, or at least wasn't a cheap game. It wasn't a cheap game. I mean, they were working on that game for 4 or 5 years.
That's crazy.
And I mean, you can tell, like, the game's super polished, and I'm sure it cost a pretty penny. Not as much as most other AAA games out there, but
6.
You're probably talking about a fairly expensive game. But I mean, I don't know, Mag, if they weren't planning on doing anything with the franchise, I don't know why they would buy the IP then.
Well, exactly. So I mean, they have intentions, but maybe it's just I'm just saying, Krafton might look at it and say, okay, we have the IP now, but what can we do to maybe scale back a little bit of the budget, or do they go even bigger? Like, you know, Uncharted 1 did what it did, and then Uncharted 2 blew the doors off the franchise by going bigger, better, and, you know what I mean, more bombastic. But how do you know? How do you know? Like, we just don't know what they're going to do with it. It wasn't a success on paper.
Do you think the style of gameplay turns off more people than it excites? I mean, you threw out the achievement percentages.
Yeah,
do you think it's like, hey, you can try it on Game Pass, and you try it out because the game looks cool. I dig the art style. It's got a funny charm to it. Right. But then you just don't like the gameplay. You don't like the on-beat action, because not everybody likes that style of combat or gameplay, or rhythm games.
Yeah,
so
rhythm
people,
game, yeah.
And that's the thing with Game Pass. It's like, well, it doesn't no sweat off your sack. You can just, I played it, now I deleted it because
and that's clearly, Rand, that's clearly what happened.
Yeah.
When 7.6% completed the game on normal difficulty, that means that's 100%. That's what 92% of people probably did. They played for a little bit. They're like, all right, I get it. And then they turned it off, and then they never played it again.
I almost gave up on it after the first level. I was like, oh, I don't know if I really like this, like, rhythm based. I just want to do like a hack and slash thing. And then the second level, like, changed it up with the side scroll. I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Then the third level did something different, and then I was totally in. But I can see why people gave up on it, because you have to, like, I was playing it like this. Like the,
well, I mean, yeah, you don't have to play it on beat,
if you want to get a good score,
If you want to get a good score, and some people don't care about that, they just want to experience the game. Like, I mean, I was probably offbeat most of the time.
Yeah.
But no, I just think this is, you never see this though. You never see someone like, hey, we're announcing we're still closing the studio. And then months later, actually, this other company bought this studio. I'm struggling to think of any time this has ever happened before. And we're in this era where studio closures happen frequently. Like last week, Ready at Dawn got shut down, right? And people were lamenting what could have been with PlayStation and Ready at Dawn. Like, oh, The Order 1886, so amazing. And, oh, what could have been? But they were bought by Meta, and, they were put on VR, and nobody gives a shit about VR. So, all right. And in this time of when people are constantly losing their jobs in the video game industry, it's nice to see, actually, you didn't. Now you're back, and now you can continue to work on it. And as gamers, I think we have Hi-Fi Rush 2 to look forward to in 4 years or whatever. I think it's great.
It's great, but everything comes with a caveat, and they no longer have that. Let's face it. I mean, Krafton they do what they do, but it's also not going to give them carte blanche to say, you know what, we got you back in here. Spread your wings and fly and do this and do that. They're still going to come with the caveat of, listen, here's your budget. This is all you're going to get. So make it work. And I think that what they're going to have to do at that point, they're going to have to sort of reprove themselves from the beginning and release something that is, that has some budgetary constraints that is and that is able to be successful in a way that people are going to want to play it. Like, for example, I think the biggest mistake was is the Evil Within. I think that would draw more people into it than Hi-Fi Rush, to be quite honest.
Rob,
like if they,
there are big followings, or there is a following for Evil Within.
Right.
Yeah, it is like
I think it's more appealing.
Have you played them? You'd like them. They're like Resident Evil.
Them.
Okay.
I love them. I played them both. I actually thought the second one, for me, I thought the second one was better than the first one. But it definitely had the Resident Evil vibe because it was what's his face who did Resident Evil 4, right? So, at the end of the day, it was basically a very similar experience, and I think that has more wide appeal than what a rhythm game would have, right? And I think that would have been the IP that would have been better to take on. But at the same time, we've seen what lower budget horror games can be like. You know what I mean? And so,
did you see the developers?
They got burned with Callisto Protocol, even though I thought it was a great game. They got burned with that as well. They're like, well, let's not do another one of those. But Hi-Fi Rush is also an unproven IP as well. Regardless of how much people love it, it did not, on paper, it did not do what it needed to do. And Krafton does not have a $3 trillion company behind them.
Yeah, I've got a very controversial question I want to ask both of you in just a second here. Let me read just a couple chats here. Boner Jams with the $5 says, evening to all my mag lovers, waiting for Randall Thor 19 to blink. Been staring for 27 minutes. He hasn't moved at all. Hey, Colt, kisses.
An hour and 52 minutes. 53 minutes. An hour and 53 minutes. He's still holding onto his jacket like this.
Yep.
People don't realize Rand does not have eyelids. He's like a Drell. Is that what they're called from Mass Effect?
Lizard.
Yeah.
He's a lizard. Yeah.
He's like Thane from Mass Effect 2, He's like Shepard. Yeah. Spiff Rinaldi, thank you for this. Member chat says, getting laid off is not fun. My job just cut 20% of its workforce, including me. I was there since day one, 5 years gone, just like that. Biff, I know Mag was just setting that up. That is absolutely what is happening. Everybody in the industry is doing a 10 to 15 or 20% cut. It absolutely sucks. And every day, like, even though I don't like some of the people I work with, I am very grateful that another day I have a job, because it's really tough out there. Game Seeker, thank you so much for the super chat. Canadian $20 with a fox with the trophy. Been hanging out with him, playing Fallout 76 and other games. And thank you for your support. Hi-Fi Rush says Jax82. Thank you for the 5. Hi-Fi Rush. If Hi-Fi Rush didn't sell well, why didn't anybody buy Callisto Protocol? What's the difference? Just asking.
I don't think Callisto Protocol sold well either.
Yeah, and I think that's what Jax is saying. Yeah, it's just how it is. If a game, the difference between Hi-Fi Rush was an 89 or a 90 out of 100. Callisto Protocol was like a high 70, and the word goes around. People are like, yeah, it's all right. And so not a lot of people buy it. But the overwhelming response, Rand, was Hi-Fi Rush is really good. It's a breakout hit. This game is amazing. This game's cool. This is unique. You should play this. And nobody did. One more before I get in, because it's going to put me into my question to both of you. Sir Riffs a Lot, what a great name, says, thank you for the 5. Says, I can't say no one likes rhythm games when Guitar Hero is huge and might make a comeback. No. Rhythm games were amazing. I was one of the big fans, but they were so oversaturated in the late 2000s. The late aughts, right, Meg? The late aughts,
baby. Yeah, the aughts.
They ruined themselves, and we all loved them. We got too much of them.
I had Rock Band. I had all the instruments. I had Guitar Hero. I remember plugging in my 360 and bringing it to people's houses for parties, and have the 360 like just totally dying there because it had like 18 plugins and all these wires all over the floor.
You have to turn the sound system up. The 360 is going.
Yeah, because you had everything plugged into every orifice on the 360 just to get and then you had like 8,000 wires on the ground for the two guitars, the bass guitar, the lead guitar, the drums, the microphone. Oh man, it was a mess setting that thing up. But hey man, they were popular for a short while, but you're right. And then all of a sudden came Guitarsmith and this and that, and I think there was another one out there, and then like 100,000 DLCs.
Harmonix even did that like road racing rhythm game to just try to keep the music library alive. It was
remember it was like the Beatles Rock Band and then Metallica Guitar Hero, but then all of a sudden it was like Lego Rock Band.
And, that was when it was like
and there was so like, all of a sudden all these like ones that you just was like, what? Aerosmith Guitar Hero. They basically killed the whole market.
Yeah, Happy Bomb says, why won't they come back? We still play Rock Band. Yeah, I still play it. My family and I play it every year. We play it every New Year's since 2008. Like, so we'll at least play it once a year. I love it. It's so great. But I think the world is so done with those rhythm games, and the rest of his chat. Hold on, where is it? Of Sir Ifsalot's like they need to make toys, build hype, and actually promote this. I like that idea. I just think the world doesn't, and it doesn't really work.
Phil's talked about Guitar Hero before when he talked about Activision's IPs that he would like to see come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I always sort of wondered, like, how would you bring back Guitar Hero? Because, all right, somebody's got to make a guitar, and do people want to really buy all that stuff again? Somebody is, but it's like, and I think Jez, we were kind of talking about this one week, and Jez says, what if it comes back as like a mobile game where it's like the stuff is on your phone or on your, not necessarily like a guitar, but it's like mobile based.
Like you push the buttons on your touch screen of your phone?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, just having the plastic, especially as me being a guitar player, like actually feeling like you're rocking is what makes it so, because Meg and I are musicians, like, right? When we lean in on the mic stand or we're playing the guitar, like,
and then you've got the guitar strap. You got the guitar strap. You can lower it. You actually feel like I know it doesn't feel like playing a real guitar, but I mean, it gives you at least the illusion that you're playing the guitar. That you're kind of in the moment, and you know what I mean. And at least you're kind of working the frets a little bit. So it's kind of got that vibe to it. I mean, if they were to do it in any other way, I don't think it'll work. But again, you're asking a company to make a lot of peripheral, right? And then a peripheral costs a ton of money. They're not going to spend it on that.
It was a very dicey thing having the plastic instruments, and ours are like barely hanging on at this point. Happy Bomb says it's on Fortnite. That's absolutely right. Right now, it is a big part of Fortnite, and my son was playing that for like a month, and you have to. It's such a weird button combination of the face buttons and the bumpers. It doesn't make sense, but you have to get used to it. But they have all these songs, and they're actually selling them. It within Fortnite, so it's actually really popular there. So you know what? We actually might be kind of wrong. Maybe it is time.
But Fortnite's not. It's not. They're not making any peripherals though.
What if
they're either just supporting the peripherals that already exist?
Exactly.
Or using. Yeah.
What if the Guitar Hero Rock Band way in was full integration in Fortnite? Oh yeah, Rock Band's back, but you when you load it up on Fortnite, which is free to play, you just have to buy the songs. That could be a thing. The guitars are out there. I just don't think people are buying the new one. It's like iPop is the brand or something.
Oh, really? I didn't even know they had new ones out there.
I keep seeing it on
there
Twitter.
are new ones out there. I've seen
PDP.
Like, Mr.
Little
Boomstick
Table says PDP. What Boomstick got one?
He's posted like, I just got this or whatever, and it's a picture of like the guitar or whatever. But yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize.
I think I saw that today. He posted or the other day.
Oh, okay.
Donnie wants to play
maybe
Butterfly.
Maybe it's easier just to not really make that many guitars, Mag, where it's kind of like you keep your inventory a little bit low instead of like, if you're going to actually launch a new Rock Band or Guitar Hero, you're going to have to flood the market with peripherals just in case.
Yeah, that's a situation.
What if the guitar takes your controller plugs into it so they don't have to make a PlayStation version or an Xbox version? Because that's really what it'd be down to, because the Xbox version will run on PC. Because they're different protocols, the wireless system from PlayStation, Xbox. This is not it. We're not doing a podcast while we workshop this, but Rand's right. They need to make a universal system where people can just play it and then they can sell a couple peripherals.
Yeah, it would also have to be on everything. It'd be on PlayStation and Xbox and Switch and PC.
And then it might make it. And the library's already there. Like if Harmonix could even sell the library or just continue to be the publishers. Who owns Harmonix?
Harmonix, I believe, is owned by Epic now.
Oh, okay.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That's why it's in Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's in Fortnite because they're part of Epic, and the people that made soccer cars or Rocket League, they also are owned by Epic, and they're making that racing game or whatever that's in there,
which is pretty fun, by the way.
Yeah.
The Rocket League thing integration. Epic's going to be a big platform. I think Epic's that's the way to do it. I can't believe.
I mean, they just did they just did a thing with Disney just yesterday, I think it was, the day before, and all the kids are playing it, man. It's just takes over once again because they tied it in with the D23 with Disney's new showings of what they got coming up for the next 3 to 5 years. And so,
what are you excited for out of the Disney stuff? Because I know you're a big critic of the Disney stuff.
I'm a big critic.
You mean like
Daredevil,
the Disney park stuff and
the Disney movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff?
Oh,
Toy Story 5, that would be a great one. And Incredibles 3. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people are pissed off about Snow White. I thought Snow White actually looked really good. And then of course Daredevil, Born Again looks fantastic. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer. I mean, they haven't officially released the trailer.
You think Snow White looks good with those?
It looked good
with those Shrek, DreamWorks dwarfs.
I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, like I said, you know how I feel about certain things, but I'm letting that one go because I'm like, you know what, it actually looks pretty decent. So I was just like,
Mag,
what?
you know that this is a different Snow White that doesn't need a man to come rescue her.
Yeah, I know. I heard all about that, but I mean, I'm not exactly going to the theater, but I mean, I'll watch it at home or whatever. But I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah.
But the ones like I said, Incredibles 3, Toy Story 5, Daredevil, Born Again looks fantastic,
and they've got the whole thing with the park too, right? Like Monsters Inc., University Land, and
they got a new Avengers thing. They've got RDJ filming new stuff with as Iron Man for the new Thanos attraction that's going to be in one of the parks.
What do you think about RDJ being Doctor Doom?
Well, he's not Doctor Doom, so
it's going to be a Tony Stark variant that became Doom.
Yeah, or there's a comic that came out about 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, called Demon in a Suit. Demon in an Iron Suit, I think it was called specifically. And it's about how what Doctor Doom actually does, the real Doctor Doom, is that he actually, this of course is in an area where, this is obviously in a world where Tony Stark is still alive. And what he does is that he actually takes over his brain and takes over his mind. And because he's jealous of his fame, his money, his power, everything that Tony Stark has, and he takes over his mind. And basically it's Tony Stark possessed by Doctor Doom, and he becomes Doctor Doom. But then in the end of it all, during Secret Wars, he snaps out of it, and Tony Stark comes back as Iron Man to defeat Doctor Doom.
Mag, you're such a nerd. I love it. You know all this stuff. I didn't even know who Doctor Doom was until last week.
Yeah. You didn't know who Doctor Doom was?
No, seriously, I don't.
And then
all my life, I only knew about Spider-Man, Superman, Hulk, and maybe Iron Man. And then when the movies came out, I'm like, oh, there's a purple one. Oh, there's a greenish blue. I really didn't know.
The other thing is, Fantastic Four also takes place in an alternate universe that's not connected to the current MCU, whatever they call it, that timeline. Mm-hmm. And it takes place in the 1960s. So obviously something's going to happen with the Secret Wars that they're going to be able to get Fantastic Four to leave that timeline and probably bring a variant of Tony Stark through that one and bring him into the new one, and then whatever else. So that's they're all going to make it come together somehow. So they're not, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not holding my breath because like I said, every movie and TV show that has come out has been absolute ass trash since Endgame, right? So, I'm not really holding my breath. But either way,
even Deadpool and Wolverine?
Well, no, Deadpool Wolverine I enjoed quite a bit.
Yeah, I want to see that one.
It wasn't perfect, but it was an 8.5 for me. It wasn't a 10 out of 10,
but
it was excellent, and I think it did well. And the restructuring of being able to do Doomsday, and of course now they're working on Secret Wars as well. That should bring back a lot of big popular characters that they're banking on, right? So we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? Roy's Toys for Big Boys says, "What, Colt? Really? Yeah, back when I was young, I read Calvin and Hobbes. I did not read superhero comics at all. I was not aware of them. I didn't know people actually. Well, I had baseball cards at the time, but it was like they have all these comics. And I'm like, people, is that what they I don't know. I just didn't know. I didn't know. I was a different kind of nerd. I want to get to this controversial question, and it ties back to Tangogameworks, and it really begs the question. We know that Game Pass is sustainable and very profitable. In fact, we know from the leaks from the FTC, Rand, that Game Pass nets them over $3 billion a year in revenue, and we know that it probably doesn't cost them more than $3 billion to run Game Pass. So my question is, Xbox can certainly survive with Game Pass, but what happens to the studios when their games are subject to sale or played for free in Game Pass? Like, is this a dicey situation if you're a smallish studio working for Xbox? That's my question.
I mean, could be. I mean, we'll see what happens with Ninja Theory, because there are a lot of people out there that think Ninja Theory's, and after what happened with Hellblade 2, isn't long for this world. And even, a smaller studio like Compulsion and what they made, or, an Exile. So I guess it's one of those things where, okay, they're all making these games since they acquired them in 2018. Maybe some of them started in 2020. They're not going to shut them down when they're this close. And Tango and the other studios that they acquired were also part of the Bethesda purchase. And then you go out and acquire ABK, and you spend all this money, and now the parent company's like, we want better margins on our stuff, and now you need to cut costs. And you look at ones that are like, okay, well, which ones can we lose? And it's like this one over there. I would say if you can get through, Ninja Theory can do another game, and all these other smaller studios they have make stuff and nothing happens to them, then the answer to that question would be they're absolutely fine. And Tangogameworks would have just been more of the exception rather than the rule, right?
Yeah.
In regards to that. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a problem for any of the other studios, even if, they release games that aren't well received or purchased, because I think they can help doing other things, other projects, they can just do other stuff that could help the other studios that are more successful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost in a way what Activision did with hey, we have Call of Duty, and it's we need more people working on it, so let's drag in High Moon Studios, and let's drag in Beanox, and let's drag in Toys for Bob, because those games that Beanox and High Moon Studios made didn't really make a difference, but Call of Duty does. And we need more people working on Call of Duty all the time, so it's more beneficial for Activision to have those studios work on that franchise consistently than it is for them to make their own games, right?
Yeah.
And Xbox, I think, they don't go to that large of a thing where it's all right, Ninja Theory, you're now a support studio for 343, or you're a support studio for Collision, right? In that manner, like you would have with Activision. But in the meantime, while you're gearing up for your next game, some of your people are going to help out on Fable or on Gears or whatever. So I think that's a question. Your question is probably going to be answered in these next few years as South of Midnight comes out, as Clockwork Revolution comes out, as the smaller games from the smaller studios release.
Because it's weird right now. A lot of these games that have come out recently were already funded, so to speak. So, somebody had already invested into making those games. Developers get paid, ahead of time, and then they get
what I always say, and I'm sure maybe, I don't know if Mag would agree, but the Microsoft or the Xbox in 2018, when they purchased a lot of these studios, is no longer the Xbox that currently exists in 2024. There's a different vision, right? Mm-hmm. Where, 2018, it's hey, we got Game Pass. We have this small thing we're thinking of. We need more studios. What's available? And the budget's not large to buy stuff. So you go out and you pick up these individual studios. But now you're in 2024 and you bought Bethesda and you bought ABK. Now your sights are much, much, much larger and your goals are way more grandeur. And you have these IPs that are super, super big and you're worried about the Gears, the Halos, the Forzas, the Fallouts, the Elder Scrolls, and all these like gigantic franchises that pushes all these players. And that's your focus. Where it wasn't your focus in 2018 when you decided to buy Compulsion, right? Where you could make the argument that in 2024, Compulsion doesn't really make a lot of sense for Xbox because it's not really going to move anything, but that still, you still kind of need those games for like the Game Pass stuff. I think this next 2 years you will see like, if Microsoft's like, all right, hey, you guys released Compulsion. Oh, by the way, you're shut down. Oh, you released In Exile, or you released Clockwork Revolution. It didn't do well. You're shut down. If you start seeing that from all this stuff, then you know that like everything's really changed, and the focus is on the greater IPs that brings in the millions, and that Game Pass isn't enough to keep those studios solvent or what have you. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think everything's. I really don't see them shutting down any more studios.
I don't either. Yeah.
In the foreseeable future, unless there's some drastic downturn to the economy or something that requires more cuts. Like, I think this is more just a pivot of what happened during the pandemic when everybody overhired and they thought this was going to be. They thought that level was going to be sustained moving forward, and it didn't. It went back down to the previous level. So it's like, God, we overhired, and now we got to get rid of everybody. So I think it's all going to be good. But these next 2 years will be very telling. With them finally releasing games from all these smaller studios, they really don't have an impact on the larger goals of Microsoft in general when it comes to like stuff like Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Halo and Gears and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't know, Mag, what do you think?
First and foremost, I just went to the bathroom for like 30 seconds and I came back to see the entire chat losing their minds, calling me all kinds of funny names. DJX telling me that I went to go put on my hemorrhoid cream.
That was my favorite one.
That was all pretty funny. And I'm like, middle-aged gooner guy, middle-aged gig. What? I'm like, what's happening?
Middle-aged gooner, grumpy Grogu.
That's because you love buying those swimsuits, you know, for
middle-aged
girls.
Here we go. True 77, middle-aged grumpy Grogu. I'm not grumpy. I'm laughing. No. And you know, the funny thing is I could still hear Rand through my headphones all the way from the bathroom. So I'm listening to what he's I'm listening to what he's saying.
I know you had the mic on too. We heard the stream. It was very healthy.
Wow. You know, hey, my kidneys work, man. Lots of water. Lots of water, folks. That's what you got to do. Lots of water right here. Anyways, Rand is absolutely right. And if you look at a situation like, for example, if you want to look across the pond, if you want to see how some of these companies are heading, and don't think that they're not very similar in terms of their business practices, they absolutely are. You look at what Sony said. Sony said that they're going to focus now on their bigger IPs, basically the ones that make all the money. Mm-hmm. And they went for this very short period of time with this games as a service nonsense, which only worked one time, and that was with Helldivers 2, which was a massive success. But besides all that, they've failed. They failed across the board.
They've only released one.
Two.
Like
Foam Stars.
That's Square Enix game. That's not theirs.
Doesn't matter.
No, they had two, didn't they? Stellar
Blade.
And
Stellar Blade and Helldivers.
Concord.
Concord's not even out yet.
Well, it's already arrival.
I'm just saying it hasn't released yet. Wait to call it a failure or whatever until it actually comes out and you see
you said that to me the other week.
It's already a failure.
It's already a failure, Rand.
Okay.
Wait. I don't want to keep Mag because Mag wants to bounce. He's got a lot of stuff to do. But it was funny that Rand said to me the other day, he goes, it would be just your luck, Colt, that you're like, Concord's a failure, and it ends up being a runaway hit. You know.
Who's that guy who clips everybody? Astro Dickhead, whatever his name, Cyborg, whatever. Get him to clip Randall Thor right now, and that he was defending Concord.
I'm not defending Concord. I'm just saying it hasn't even come out yet.
I know,
Yeah.
but we're twisting the screws to make it look like you're defending Concord.
No, I'm just saying, like you said, like
your
the
reputation
stuff is a failure. Like release one game out of the 12. It's
they
like
released 3,
and the one game they released is bigger than Spider-Man. It made more money.
It made more money.
Isn't
yes.
that something?
And like I
Wait,
said,
Helldivers made because of the profit margin. Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, what they ended up saying after that is they started saying they're going to focus on their IPs, their bigger IPs that, the more mainstream IPs that obviously make them more money. And of course, they get the awards, they get everything else, they get all the, the gravitas that comes with all that, right? That's what they're going to do. Microsoft, they're going to entertain these ideas, just like Rand has said, with your South of Midnights, with your, damn it, I already forgot the Clockwork, I was about to say Clockwork Orange.
I know.
You know what I mean? But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, the point is they got all those games or whatever. They're not going to be the ones that move the needle. They may be critically great. They may be my favorite game of the year or your favorite game or Rand's favorite game of the year. But if it doesn't move the needle financially, I don't think the CFO cares that it was a critical darling, but it didn't move the needle with the cash. Right? So that they will spend time because they know 100% that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a massive hit and going to sell a ton of money. And of course, Call of Duty is going to continue to print money and doing what it's doing and whatever else. And then you got the bigger IPs, right? Those are the ones that they will start to focus more and more and more on in order to, funny enough. And they're going to continue to do that in order to do it. And then these other ones, yes, you will be able to fund these smaller games, but I think that you're going to see that window is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller when it's not producing the amount of money that they need for the return on investment. It doesn't matter that they're worth $3 trillion. They still have to return the money that was spent in order to invest into the Xbox ecosystem. That money still has to make its way back to the coffers. And therefore, I could see, unfortunately, and it sucks because a lot of those games I think would be right up my alley. Like, you get these little AA games that are some of my favorite games out there. Little Nightmares. Absolutely love it. I'm really looking forward to South of Midnight. I've seen a lot of gameplay. Mm-hmm. I've seen even more gameplay behind the scenes. It's going to be another game that I'm really excited for. I know that, what's it called? Playground's third studio game is going to be something else. I've already heard a lot about that. I'm sure Miranda's heard the same thing. So, maybe
that's news to me. I thought the third studio was working on Fable. Are you dropping a leak here, Mag?
No, I'm not doing that. But I mean,
Mag dropping a leak.
Oh, God damn it, Rand!
You're
going to get me in trouble.
You're
going to get me in trouble. No, not third game, third studio. There may or may not be the possibility that it might be an air combat style game. I don't know. Never heard anything about it, but it didn't come out of my lips. Okay. Anyways, yeah, don't worry. Idle Sloth doesn't do his thing anymore.
Rand, should I do the surprise face so they can clip that perfectly?
I know. I just said may or may not. Nobody knows, but it's just, who the hell knows?
Meg's saying that's his prediction, ladies and gentlemen. Right? That's your prediction.
I don't know, something like that. Whatever you want to believe. Anyways,
where's Contraband?
But you know what they'll focus on? They'll focus on. Oh, sorry, get into that. They're going to focus on what gives them the most notoriety, and what gives them the most notoriety? Forza Horizon. What's going to give them huge notoriety? Fable, right? Maybe if they made theoretically a plain combat game that really doesn't do well, they're going to say, listen, it was great. You had a fun little time with your little project. It didn't really make the money. Start focusing, you guys amalgamate them into going into doing more Forza Horizons and more Forza.
No. Meg's confirming Playground's working on the revival of Crimson Skies.
Oh my God! You hear this stuff? You hear this, ladies and gentlemen? Putting words in my mouth.
Crimson Skies by Playground Games?
Woo. Wow, that's you heard it here first on the XNC Podcast. I'm the host, Colt Eastwood. I'm here with Mag, middle-aged game guy who just broke secret classified news. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. That's a really good prediction. That's really cool because people have been asking for that is one of just a couple of classic Xbox titles.
There's some rumblings going on that's what they're working on, but I'm not confirming nor denying that. So, like
Jonas
I said, I don't want
to need to invite Mag to poker night. He has the best face ever Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy to like be like all of a sudden go through all that horse shit I went through at the beginning of the year with all that other stuff, which by the way, it's still going to happen. Just so you know, it's just taking its time. But either way, all that stuff.
What's taking its time? What's taking its time?
Don't worry about it.
What's taking its time?
We already know all the stuff, all the leaks and all the other business and the third party stuff and blah 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 blah. We all know that's happening. It just yeah.
Well, I need to put that in my timestamps.
We're not gonna get into all that business. But anyways, I was just gonna the point is that they're going to focus on the bigger games and the bigger names, right? And that's going to make them the most money and the most notoriety going forward. And again, that's also going to help them in the long run if they decide on some of those games, especially legacy titles, are going to still go third party. They're going to be printing money, right? They're going to be, and like I said, what's the goal at the end of this all? To be one of the largest third party publishers in the industry. Why not? Because you're going to make a ton of money and you're still going to have an Xbox ecosystem, whether it's big or whether it's small, it'll still exist and it'll still be there. And they will be able to, expand their product into the greater ecosystem across all the different ecosystems. And like I said, when Switch 2 comes out and the hardware is a little bit better than what it is, that'll open a lot of doors too. You know what I mean? Were you going to see maybe you might see the next Call of Duty on the Switch 2 or whatever. Now you're opening the door to possibly anywhere from 50 to 100 million more units out there in the wild.
That's right? Actually Xbox's best bet is to be able to release a bunch of their games on the next Switch. Moreover than it would PlayStation.
Meg, anyway, yeah, sorry.
I don't want to keep you too long. There's a couple of topics left that Rand and I want to cover, but it's late. I mean,
I'm ready to go play Cyberpunk. I don't know about all you.
No, I do have to run. I have to make.
You got to get Mag's take on the Warner Brothers thing, Colt, for sure.
Don't do it. That's my take.
I'm just saying, like it is like Colt's got a freaking Batman in the thumbnail.
That was the next thing to talk about, but I couldn't get to it in time. Meg, will you be prepared to talk about this again next week if I bring it up?
Sure. In detail, absolutely. But I can tell you my initial thoughts and feelings is that I don't want them to do it. Focus on what you have. Stop biting off more than you could chew. Work with what you got. Do with what you got. Release quality games with a steady cadence, and that's what they should be focusing on. Not focusing on shoving more food in your mouth when your mouth is already full. Ooh. That's my thoughts and feelings.
Okay. All right, Mag, let everybody know where they can find you, and I'll keep it brief with Rand as we finish up.
Yeah, y'all know where you can find me. You can DM me anytime. You can find me on Xbox, PlayStation. You can find me on Twitter, and you can find me anywhere else. That's where you have all the socials, and of course my own channel very soon, sometime or just after Canadian Thanksgiving, so around the 2nd or 3rd week of October. Should be launching somewhere around there, and then we'll take it from there. But Rand, Colt, chat.
Mag.
Y'all were amazing. You guys enjoy the rest of the show, but business and duty calls before I get to bed. So I will deal with that shortly. But anyways, folks. Oh, and next week I'm not here. You're not here. I'm out of town for business, aren't you? Are you away as well?
Yeah, I think next week. I'm not here.
I think you're away as well with the fam jam, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You're off on pleasure. I'm off on business. So we'll have to reconvene 2 weeks from tonight. So sucks, guys, but it's the time of year. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah, appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. You guys enjoy the rest of the show. We'll see you guys all later. And hey, everybody hit that like before you take off. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, Mag.
Later, Mag.
Later.
Okay, let me see if I can get back to this and then hit a couple buttons. All right, so I think it is weird, this whole WB thing, and I think people were jumping on this like it was the real deal, Rand. And some people were reporting that WB, well, the report is that WB wants to sell their games division. And people were reporting.
That's not the only report. The other report was that they were looking to license out their IPs to other developers, like kind of how Marvel does.
Okay. Explain that then. So their studios would still make everything, but it would be
It's just like Marvel, like, or Disney in general. Like, hey, you want it? Insomniac's making Wolverine. They're also going to make the X-Men games. Arcane's making Blade. EA's making an Iron Man game and a Black Panther game. But there's also that Black Panther Captain America game. But then there's the Star Wars stuff, right? EA's making the Star Wars games with Respawn. Ubisoft's making a Star Wars game with Star Wars Outlaws, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have any game studios, so they just license all these projects out for the people that want them. And that's something DC or Warner Brothers has never done, right? Because they have their own game studios, right? Rocksteady worked on the Batman games, and Monolith's doing the Wonder Woman stuff.
And then they have I can't remember what they're called, that did Hogwarts Legacy, which is a really good studio. They've got the Multiverse group. I was looking at their website earlier today. They have like 4 or 5 standout franchises that they deal with. The problem being that Rocksteady is not the same studio we once loved. So and I'm with Mag. I'm glad he said that, because I was going to say it too, that I don't want Xbox to buy Warner Brothers. I think they have enough to worry about. But also when Meg and I say that, Rand, we know the whole catch-22 of this is Xbox doesn't manage their studios, or they micromanage them, and people pick and choose when they want to place the blame on Xbox, when I don't know where the blame should really go sometimes. Studios mostly run themselves, and Xbox seems to not check in with them, and then they have problems. Or people say that Microsoft or Xbox ruined things because they intervene, and Starfield ended up, that kind of crap. If Xbox bought these IPs, would they manage these studios or have ownership of them?
Well, they would have to buy the entirety of Warner Brothers for that.
Okay.
Which means they would own DC Comics, and they would own the Max streaming service, and they would own the whole kit and caboodle. Because you could just buy the gaming division, which gives you like the 11 studios, but it doesn't give you any of the IP. Like, you're not buying Batman with it or Wonder Woman, because that's still owned by Warner Brothers itself, right? So you'd own a whole bunch of studios, but you don't own any of the IP that goes along with it. And if you recall, this was a talking point. This was something Microsoft was interested in before Bethesda, and even I think during Bethesda, if I get my timelines, remember them correctly, was that there's reporting that Warner Brothers was looking to sell, and that Microsoft was one of the ones interested. Now, nothing ever came out of it, because the thing is, nobody wants to buy these studios and not get any of the IP. And what Warner Brothers wanted to do was to sell these studios to, these suitors, and then have those suitors license the IP from them. But nobody wants to do that at all. So Microsoft wants to own the stuff. They don't want to license anything. So that's why that all fell apart.
Phil said he doesn't want to just, he wants to own the IPs so that they could be a part of their family and be wherever they're supposed to.
That's why it fell apart back then. Now, now their stock price is at the lowest it's ever been. You probably could buy Warner Brothers for cheap, but then you got to ask yourself, does Microsoft want to own DC Comics? Does Microsoft want to own a streaming service in Max? Does Microsoft want to own all the things that Warner Brothers has that's outside the gaming division? And, Warner Brothers has a lot of debt too. So you're also taking on all that debt. And to me, I think the answer to that question is easy. The answer to that question is no. Like, you wouldn't buy the entirety of Warner Brothers, because I don't think Microsoft is interested in anything other than perhaps maybe some of the game studios. And then it's like, okay, well, you think they would buy the entire game studio? It's like, no, I don't see that either, because you wouldn't get the IPs, which is what you really want, which is what really makes it valuable. And you would be adding 11 studios on top of the ones you already own from ABK and Bethesda and Xbox Game Studios. You would go from like 33 studios or 32 to like 43. So it's sort of like, do they have the bandwidth to run all that?
No, but right now they don't.
Right now they don't
for their own.
Well, yeah, especially with how long it took them to get the ABK stuff through, and the transitions. From what I understand, the transition and the integration is a lot harder or taking longer than maybe previously anticipated. And I think I've always said Microsoft is going to chill out on acquisitions for a bit. So them buying a publisher again this soon after ABK, I just don't think is going to happen.
My other question that you're not addressing is, legally, would that be a major, like, what are we getting ourselves into? Like the pointed question being, would the FTC even allow them to sniff around something like owning the entirety of Warner Brothers IP and their game studios?
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, because Xbox can still point to, hey, Tencent still makes more money, Sony still makes more money. We're still here. I don't really think it would be that big of an issue, because I'm not necessarily sure anybody, like, part of it is, Sony was fighting the ABK acquisition pretty hard, right? Because of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And even, the EU was like, the only thing we were concerned about is the streaming stuff, which they figured out. The CMA was the only thing they were concerned about was the streaming stuff, which they worked out that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And everybody else was like, no, this isn't a big deal. So if you were to buy that, especially with Microsoft's like new multi-platform strategy stuff.
Yeah, like you said, it's a different Xbox than it was 3 years ago.
It's like, well, maybe that work in their favor. Like, hey, we don't really have any plans of making any of that stuff exclusive or whatever they could say. And it's not like, a Batman game is going to be. It's not like Sony's like, we can't survive without a Batman game like they did with Call of Duty. So I don't really think it would. I don't think the regulators would have much issue with it, because you're talking about something that is going to be, money-wise, would probably significantly. Well, it depends. If they just bought the gaming division without the IPs, it's probably cheaper than Bethesda.
Oh, yeah.
If you bought it but if you wanted all the IPs, and you bought the whole company, that's still way cheaper than. Well, yeah, I mean, it's still way cheaper than ABK. But either way, I don't think that's going to happen. I know you can talk about crossovers of like, man, if you owned all that stuff, if you owned the DC stuff, and you could cross it with all your. Could you imagine Call of Duty and Sea of Thieves and Halo and Gears with, Batman themed things or Superman themed things or Game of Thrones style stuff or Harry Potter style stuff, because you would own it. Mm-hmm. And maybe you could talk about like the profits, or, that sort of engagement you could get for those things. And maybe that would be something you could think about, but licensing out all of them to another company is probably something that's not going to happen. Now, what I do think possibly could happen is maybe you pick out an individual studio you like, and you buy them. Like, for instance, NetherRealm in Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you look at that and you're like, you know what? That fits what we're looking for. We don't really have a need for 11 of these studios, but we do have a need for a fighting studio. Mortal Kombat's one of the biggest IPs in the world. NetherRealm's a world-class studio. And if Warner Brothers was looking to offset costs, which is clearly what's going on here, maybe they would be willing to part with Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm. And then Xbox could be like, you know what? Sure, that fits what we're going for. This fits our strategy. That's something we could do. Let's make that. So I think buying an individual studio is something that could potentially happen through all this. Another thing I think that could happen is this, because Warner Brothers is like, okay, do we sell all this? Or do we become Disney and Marvel, where we license out these properties, right? Which it looks like is going pretty well for Marvel and Disney and Star Wars.
Yeah, and then different studios working on those franchises.
Then you could maybe it's one of those things where, like Ninja Theory, for example, we questioned about, hey, do people really care about Hellblade in the manner that, like, we saw what the numbers, well, we didn't see what the numbers are, but it didn't really seem like people cared that much about Hellblade 2. And it's like, do you really want to go for a third one? And, but what if they were like, you know what? Let's build a pitch together and let's pitch for Flash. Like, let's make a Flash game. Mm-hmm. And Microsoft, I'm just throwing an IP out there. And Microsoft's, they went to Phil and Matt and they're like, okay, yeah. And then you went to them and they're like, yeah, you can make a Flash game. Or what if Obsidian, or maybe even like Bethesda, what if they were like, you know what? We're big fans of Game of Thrones. Let's go talk to Warner Brothers.
Jeez.
And let's make a Game of Thrones RPG. Like these are, I think those have a lesser chance of happening, but it's something that we never thought. Like you look at Blade and Indiana Jones, that Microsoft would be into the whole licensing stuff, but things change, and if Warner Brothers is really wants to do that, maybe there's some studios within, because you have so many of them that are like, what, let's do this. Let's make this game instead of doing this, and maybe that's something that could happen. But I really don't see them buying a publisher this soon after ABK, because they're still going through all the transitions and integration with ABK, and I don't think they want to step into another one of those immediately.
Yeah, they really haven't done anything yet with the completion.
Yeah, the only
ABK
thing to me, it's like
year.
if you're gonna buy the gaming division, you have to buy the whole company because you need the IPs.
Yes.
So then you're buying all of Warner Brothers, and then you got to ask yourself: does Microsoft want to run a comics division? Do they want to run a streaming service?
I mean,
Max?
they would. Those teams would run themselves under management.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
do
they want to own it? Because you take in all the debt that the company has, and it has a lot of debt
and the baggage.
And it's like, okay, but I'm just saying, is Microsoft as a company might look at the gaming division and be like, we would want that. But do they look at all the other things that come along with the purchase of that, and they're like, yeah, let's take on all that? Now, I know you could say, well, Amazon has a streaming service, and Google has YouTube. Some of their bigger competitors have those things, and maybe it's time for Microsoft to get into that field where they have their own streaming tech. Because now you own a streaming platform and you own a whole movie division. Now it's like, okay, we can make movie and TV shows out of all of our properties. Like here's an Elder Scrolls show at Max. Here's a Hellblade show or what have you. Now you own all that.
I don't think they can do all that stuff. That's way too much. That Xbox can hardly manage what they have right now. And when I look back at Xbox, like when I put on the thumbnail, is Xbox buying Warner Brothers game division, right? When that used to mean something so different 2 years ago. Absolutely, it was a totally different thing. And I remember podcasts and people on social media and YouTube videos, like people would look at something like that. Is Xbox going to buy Warner Brothers? Like what that used to mean, Rand, is the next Batman Arkham game or the next Mortal Kombat game is going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC. And that used to be a plausible thing to think. But now if I was to put out there on the thumbnail, like I'm doing tonight, is Xbox going to buy Warner Brothers? You illustrated it really well, that Xbox could buy those things if they wanted to manage all that stuff. But what it really means is, hey, we're going to own all this stuff, and all of you, everyone on every device can have it, but you're buying it from us. You could play it on PlayStation 5, but you're buying it from us, or the money's going to us, the majority of it. And it means a different thing. And as someone who mainly plays on an Xbox platform, like a lot of us in the chat, like you and I, it was a cool concept back in the day to think, what if Mortal Kombat was now, from moving forward, an exclusive to the Xbox brand, and it was in their graphic of all the families of IPs, next to Doom and Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Those games are all going to be multi-platform. So to get excited about Xbox buying something like Warner Brothers is only to sit here and go, oh man, they're going to make a lot of money and the stock prices are going to be amazing. But as a gamer, it doesn't do anything for me.
Well, I mean, then you could, for a lot of people, it's like, hey, the games that they would make would be in Game Pass. Like any game that would come out from those 11 studios, sure. Like Hogwarts Legacy 2 would be in Game Pass, and whatever next game from Rocksteady. And some people are excited about that. Some people look at that and be like, I'm getting more value for my subscription service because of this move, right? Yeah. And maybe even like you look at like Fallout, Fallout TV show, how successful it is, right? And how much it's boosted the Fallout games, right? 76, 4, and all that stuff on every platform because of the success of the TV show. Maybe you look at it like, I'm sure there's somebody at Microsoft maybe be like, if that was our own streaming service, if we owned Max and we could do these and make these movies with our games, and it would really blow up all, like, oh, we made a really cool South of Midnight TV show. It would blow up right, just as an example. But we also have examples of it not working so well because Halo TV show came out and it didn't do anything for the games at all, right? And so people might then say, well, you know what? You don't need to own the streaming service to have success. Like, yeah, Amazon works with Fallout, but we still see the benefit of it because the games are now being played because of it.
There's exponential growth in the player counts and people buying the old games. You don't
necessarily need to own the stream. And let's be honest, like, I think Prime is bigger than Max anyways. Like, when you look at, like, Netflix, I think then it's, like, Disney Plus, Prime, and then Max is kind of one of the, it's not the top. It's kind of right there in the middle of the pack between the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But, I could see the pros and the cons of being like, okay, yeah, we would want our own streaming thing. We would compete with Amazon, who already has one, and Google's got YouTube, and, these are our true competitors, as they've always said, right? So I could see maybe of that stuff, but then it's like, oh, you also have the whole movie division and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, I know Amazon bought MGM. I don't know, like, this would be a Microsoft purchase if they bought the entirety of it, because obviously Xbox isn't going to run all that stuff. They would be accountable for the game division. But I just don't see it I just don't see it happening because I just think Microsoft doesn't want to deal with some of that stuff. And what I do think could happen is an individual purchase. Like they look at it and they're like, you know what, let's take on Monolith and let's maybe look at NetherRealm or whatever.
Would they piecemeal sell? Like you said, there's 11 studios.
I'm sure Warner Brothers would look at all the variables. Like they can say, like, do we sell the company? Do we sell the division?
Monolith's amazing, but they're having problems right now.
What's amazing?
Monolith is amazing, but they're having problems right now. We've heard that Wonder Woman is kind of rough right now. They're having a hard time.
Yeah.
We should have seen the game by now. Should have saw it this year.
I mean, it was revealed in 2021, right? So it's been 3 years. I mean, games take a long time nowadays to make and come together. And
fault.
They sometimes they don't. I mean, famously, God of War 2018, I guess, was a complete disaster up until like the end of development. It is what it is with game development. Sometimes games don't come together until the end, and sometimes they don't come together at all.
Yeah,
I remember talking to a couple people, game developers, like it's kind of a miracle these things come out the way they are and are as good as they are sometimes. And I get it. Like, I know Xbox fans like want the next purchase, the next acquisition, and all that sort of stuff. But it's always about what's next. Like, and we haven't even gotten anything from the ABK acquisition yet. We're still waiting on the games that Game Pass.
It's always what's next, and
it's always
you could have stopped your sentence that we haven't gotten anything yet, right?
Yeah, there's you're gonna get the new Call of Duty coming this year or whatever, and people are still waiting on the catalog to hit.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, chat. Like, Rand and I know more than anybody. Like the catalog that's coming, starting in a month or so, is it's amazing. Like, we're expecting good things from Indiana Jones. I'm really excited about Avowed. I have expectations that it'll be pretty good. And Tigernaut says, remember Perfect Dark? Perfect Dark looks incredible. Even South of Midnight looks really, really, really great. I'm really excited about what they're doing. I don't need them to buy anything extra, but the thought of if we suspend our belief and think, imagine all those games like the next Mortal Kombat and the next Batman or DC game, the Wonder Woman and all that stuff. Like, imagine if that was like de facto day one in Game Pass because Xbox bought them, and that value, because that's one thing, Rand, that I have so many gripes about Xbox while I'm still really happy with what's coming. My gripe is that, or not my gripe, my celebration is that they just offer such incredible value that not many platforms can do. And Game Pass gives you so many amazing games just from their stuff alone. They just need to be able to deliver that. It just seems like such a long wait for these games. You and I talk often about Chris String's article from gamesindustry.biz from like 2020 or 2021. He's like, Xbox's big games are years out. And we're like, no way. And you're like, yeah, they are. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt Booty said AAA games now are 5 years. And it's just, we're just of the mindset of the 360 early Xbox One gen when it was like 2-3 years, maybe 4 max, and now everything's just, oh man, everything's just taking forever.
It's really
because
6
of
years.
just how complicated the games are and how much work they have to put into them and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think Xbox will acquire again in the future for sure. I don't think ABK is their last. Will it be single developer? You pick something up here, most likely. Another publisher. If they were another publisher, I don't think it would it won't be for a while from now, because also like they just spent $70 billion on ABK, and it's like, you want to spend whatever it would be for Warner Brothers so soon after? I'm not so sure, but you never know. I mean, I never thought they'd buy ABK, and that happened out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, sometimes there's the opportunity costs where Warner Brothers' price is extremely low, and it's like, if you really wanted them, now's the chance to jump on it.
For all we know, Microsoft may be saying exactly what you're saying. This isn't something we want to get into, but we can't just not look right now. And that would be my prediction, is that Microsoft's probably like, we got to look at least. And I'm sure it's everybody's job over there to at least look and say, what's the price? What's the possible return on investment? How soon can we get a return on investment? One last question I want to ask you, Rand, is if I can remember what it was.
And don't forget, Colt, Matt Booty is from that Warner Brothers Midway era.
Midway. Well, were they tied together back in the day?
Well,
Midway Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, so...
Sorry. I had to really go... You had to really dust off the old retro brain for me there. My question is, you said they may not acquire anybody anytime soon. I agree, but are they poised to actually deliver on Phil's promise last year to deliver a blockbuster game every quarter? Because we've yet to see it. Now, we're going to get a blockbuster. We did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did. Redfall was a blockbuster.
Yeah, Redfall was supposed to be, and that was in May, and you had HiFi Rush in January. This. Yeah, and they...
Okay. Was HiFi Rush in September? Was HiFi Rush in Redfall?
Yeah, I would say it is. I would say it is. I mean, they hit it. They had a big game in each quarter.
And then they had Starfield and Forza Motorsport.
And then they had Starfield and Forza.
But they didn't do it this year because...
They didn't do it this year.
Would you consider Hellblade a blockbuster? I think it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was...
It's a big game releasing. Yeah, it's a big game.
Okay.
Absolutely.
DGX is cool. I'll bet you'll sleep like a baby tonight. Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, that's another one of my things. Like,
I mean, they do have this end of this year, and this is the one criticism I always levy at Microsoft is, hey, January through August exists, right, Microsoft? The end of this year is jam-packed with stuff from, expansions like Starfield and World of Warcraft and Diablo 4 to big games like Call of Duty and Indiana Jones. I know, and you have Age of Mythology and Our History Untold, and Towerborn's most likely probably the end of the year, because if you're going to delay it, you should have delayed it with
your announcement of Avowed.
And now Avowed shifted to early 2025.
It's February, right? February 18th.
Yeah, February 18th.
Thank goodness for that. You know what? When you said January through August exist, I think if you own a platform like Game Pass, you can no longer act like June through August are no-go months, which are usually reserved for smaller games. I think Xbox can't afford to sit out the summer months. Like, oh, everyone's outside. No. We're gamers. We're playing. Even if we play at night, we're playing like crazy. Like, I'm jumping the heck into my game every night when it's dark. Sometimes during the day, but and
I never play during the day.
That always
pisses you off because you'll be like, get on and play something. I'm like, I don't play until it's dark outside.
I hate that about you. You're so staunch. I'm like, just bend your rule and hang out with me. And then I have to hang out with instead?
Yeah.
Zocker.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand. I feel for you there.
Rand, this has been a really good show. I appreciate you staying extra long. You're amazing. I'm sorry I ditched you this weekend.
Yeah, don't let it happen again. Don't let it happen again.
I'll talk to my my attorneys, and they'll make sure that you get fully compensated.
Aren't you? You're going away soon again. though.
I think so. Yeah, I should have looked at my calendar, but yeah, we're going to the beach for a few days. It's in the middle of the week, but I think we leave on a Monday. And you know me, I really don't know what's going on until like the day we're packing. I'm a terrible.
Wait, where we're going? Huh?
Yeah, we are. We're going on a little vacation for 4 days, starting Monday. So no XNC on Monday. You guys don't have to listen to us.
And something big's gonna happen because Colt's on vacation.
And I'm gonna be like, "Where'd you get that code?"
Yeah, you're gonna be like, "What? Like, I need to podcast because of this. I can't make a video. What the hell?"
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a traveling PC, aka a laptop. So here at the XNC Podcast, I've been doing this show for 3+ years, and I'm making some small changes. I want to bring on a guest every week to hang out with Mag and I. So I'll be reaching out to people in the podcast community that do other podcasts and stuff like that, and I'll just kind of to mix it up because it's been pretty fun. And Rand got to be like the returning superstar. Rand, tell everybody where they can tell everybody where they can subscribe to your channel, when you're going to start making videos again, and why you're the best Xbox YouTuber since.
I'm not the best, and I've never been the best. You can always check me out, randallthor19.com or randallthor19.com, randallthor19 on YouTube.
I'm gonna go check out that website right now.
Let's check out that website. We got the podcast with Jazz coming up on I think Thursday this week.
Okay.
Because I'll be busy. As for videos, it's kind of if I feel like it and there's something I really want to talk about, although I do need to get into it more. The showcase brought it out of me and I was so excited. It was like, okay, talk about all this, and that. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's one of those things where I need to make a change and just kind of like do it differently than how I have been. So, but I definitely want to. It's just a matter of,
when I listen to you, Rand, and when we're on the phone or when I listen to you field these questions, I think, man, Rand could make a video on that subject and people would watch it. So I'm going to continue to motivate you, and you need to motivate me because sometimes it's news, guys. So most of it is like not fun, like not positive or not exciting. I don't mean exciting, but sometimes it's like the video would just be like, oh, it sucks that this isn't working out. And like, I don't want to cover that stuff and people getting laid off. But let me read a couple supers before I say the outros. I forgot. Red Wolf, thank you for the 5. He's gone. He went to bed. He says, apparently, which he likes to say, a bunch of people were fired after the success of Deadpool 3. It seems that they're starting to realize what sells and what doesn't, Mag. I didn't hear about that. The Mad Leprechaun, thank you so much for the 10. Says, so Callisto Protocol failed to get back its budget and it's considered a financial failure. Stellar Blade hasn't made its budget back. And for some reason, it's called a success. Insert, it's getting a sequel. Sounds fishy. I think Stellar Blade was a success.
I think they said it was on the pathway to being success because they're talking about a PC version of the game. So,
which means it's like right up to that point where it starts to turn its profit, and it's going to. That's probably what they're figuring. It's different from Square. Square's like, nobody bought it. I don't know what happened. Udani Kazada, thank you so much for $2. Says, hit the like button and leave comments with a timestamp. We're going to head out of here so you can do that. Rand, thank you so much. I put your Twitter handle in the description.
My
so they go to
Twitter
that.
handle that I never tweet from?
So they can go to that and subscribe to your channel. Go do that right now. Go sub to Rand. He's got 103,000.
No, I wish. 101.
101. Well, it's
101. Been at that all year,
Yeah, well.
But that's my fault for not making content. So
if you would just do really controversial, disgusing content.
I do. I mean, if I didn't have any morals or scruples, yeah.
We were talking about some of these channels that just blast, put the whole industry on blast, and slightly disrespectful and entertaining way. Yeah, it's like no, we don't. That doesn't sound like something I want to do. Anyway, thanks everybody. We're gonna get out of here, Rand. I'm gonna let you get back to Cyberpunk, and maybe we'll hit up on Party Chat tonight.
Ooh,
hit the like button on the way
or
out.
Maybe not, because I think it's all story heavy here.
Oh yeah.
And Rand doesn't be in Party Chats when it's story heavy stuff.
Yep. Rand,
plus, you got Red Dead to play.
Oh, I'm gonna be Red Deading it up. It's amazing. I'll put a funny clip up later on Twitter too. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Rand, I appreciate
later,
you, bro.
everyone.
Talk to you later.
Chat.
Bye. Hit the like button and all that stuff. Bye.